Well, we are live on a happy hour Friday, getting things started off right here on a Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday. What's up, everybody? Good to be with you on a Friday. It's a hot one out there today. We're live at Ventnor Social today, Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. We got our good buddy, the Lombardi Trophy, with us, and, of course, the Lombardi Trophy defending it begins starting Tuesday when Eagles report to training camp live. So we invite you to come out and see us live here in Ventnor at Ventnor Social. The wall, every time I come in here, the wall draws me in. The Saquon Barkley wall is just unbelievable. It's worth getting your picture taken with the Saquon Barkley wall. But we got the Lombardi Trophy here as well. You can come out, get your picture taken. They got all sorts of great food and drink specials and the cornholes right out front. They got the upstairs if you want to be outdoors. We're right when you walk in. Right when you walk in to Ventnor Social, you'll see the show live. And, of course, my on-site producer on the live show today, Nick Earnshaw, is here. Josh Henning is back in the studio producing today's show, and everybody out there on a Friday. We've got so much to get into. The Phillies return tonight to Citizens Bank Park, and they're going to return with Mike Trout in the house for the L.A. Angels of Anaheim. So going to have a big night at the bank, and, of course, we're going to be looking for the lineup when that comes out here, and we've got that. We're also coming up in just about 25 minutes from now. If you missed the conversation I had yesterday with Dotun Akintoye, who wrote the Joel Embiid piece, we had him on yesterday in the 5 o'clock hour. Right at 5 o'clock yesterday, we had him on. He wrote that long-form piece about Joel Embiid. If you missed the conversation, you can go to the YouTube channel at Mike Gill Show, or we are going to replay that conversation today at 2:25. That was a really in-depth conversation with Dotun Akintoye, who talked about Joel Embiid, the whole article, what he learned, and what he thinks could be next. So we'll get into some Embiid stuff, because that's really been the conversation the last 48 hours is, Embiid, how he is viewed. Does this article do anything to change your view of Joel Embiid? So that's on the table. Eagles, we're going to do football at 4. Andrew DeCecco is in for Adam today. And we have got the 5 biggest storylines at Eagles camp when it opens on Tuesday. They will be reporting Tuesday. They will be on the practice field at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And, of course, Phillies back in action tonight. So all of that is on the table. By the way, Nick Earnshaw, the Philadelphia Phillies have released the All-Star Game emblem for next season. So we already have the 2026 All-Star Game Philadelphia watch. It is a Liberty Bell with the All-Star Game MLB. You're going to be getting the merch. I can feel that already.
Oh, I'm a big merch guy. Love the merch. The logo is sick. It's awesome. It's out today. Phillies back in action as well. Mike, there's a lot going on. You got the All-Star Game logo dropping. Phillies back in action. The Eagles get their rings today. We're going to see that unveiled today, what they look like. And you have Sixers Summer League. For a July Friday, this is a nice Philly sports day, to say the least.
And I'll tell you, we're live on location, so you can come out and celebrate it with us at Ventnor Social, where the bar is great. This place is awesome. It's a place family-friendly, fan-friendly as well. It's a great spot to watch the games. It's kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I see 11 TVs, 12, 13 that are just in my view of where we are sitting, plus the Saquon wall, plus the Lombardi Trophy. And it is a Friday, so get on out, hang out with us, come out and see the show. But we got to start with the Phils. When their lineup comes out, we'll get it to you. I guess what I want to start off with the Phils, we didn't get a chance to talk about this a lot because it happened on the final day of the first half of the season on that Sunday. But Kyle Schwarber hit leadoff the last time we saw the Phillies play. Now, Rob Thompson had said before the game, hey, it's just because Bohm was out of the lineup, they wanted to kind of spread the lefties out a little bit. But do the Phillies do what they did a couple of years ago? That was a day in June. I remember it vividly. I was doing a show from a golf course that day. We did a live show from a golf course that day, and the Phillies made the switch. I think it was June 3rd in 2023 when the Phillies decided to go back to Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff hole. He had started the season in the 3-hole, and this was when Bryce Harper was hurt.
Yep.
And Trey Turner was the leadoff man. They had got off to a little bit of a slow start, and they made the decision, we're going to go back to Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff hole. And he hasn't left really since until this year. On Sunday, quietly went under the radar that Kyle Schwarber hit leadoff for the one day. Now, again, Rob Thompson did address it, and he said, Bohm wasn't in the lineup. We kind of want to, spread the guys out a little bit. But is it more than that? Do we think Kyle Schwarber, do we want Kyle Schwarber back in the leadoff hole tonight? Will he be? Do we want him? Let us know on the text board, 609-403-0973. What do we think on that? Do you want to see Schwarber back in the leadoff hole? It kind of was weird because of the All-Star break. So then it happened on a Sunday, and it was a 4 o'clock game. So it was kind of like lost in the sauce a little bit. I was like, Schwarber's hitting leadoff today.
It got forgotten about. It totally got forgotten about because he goes out and wins the All-Star Game MVP. So you're not really talking about, he was in the leadoff spot. I mean, this has been a discussion for years now, Mike. I remember when they tried to go trade Turner in the leadoff spot, then switch back to Schwarber. And
remember, Turner got off to such a bad start when he got here.
Right.
So it wasn't – you almost couldn't justify hitting him there.
Yeah. So, and this year he's been much better. Remember, you're trying Stott out this year. Schwarber, you're going back and forth between Turner, Stott, Schwarber in the leadoff spot. And now, that was interesting. Remember, the whole reason you had Kyle Schwarber in that spot is because they would be on like a 90-plus win game pace with him leading off. In the past seasons, that is what has happened with the Philadelphia Phillies when he leads off. But Turner's been really good this year, and there's no really reason for Schwarber to go back, I guess. I'm an advocate, but they've been fine without him in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, I'm kind of, it was like I said the other day, I like Schwarber right now. I think on this team, I think he's the most dangerous hitter they have. That includes Bryce Harper. And I like the fact, though, that Schwarber is hitting number 2 with Harper hitting behind him. Now, unfortunately, Harper isn't the version of Harper that we want to see from Harper. But when Harper is the MVP level of Bryce Harper that we are accustomed to, Schwarber's never hit with a guy with that much protection behind him. So what version of Schwarber can you get if he's got the best version of Harper behind him? That is what I think is the most interesting thing to see, and that I kind of very intrigued by is what level of Schwarber do I get if I get the best version of Harper? And then, of course, the retort is, well, you're not getting the best version of Harper, which I think is the biggest story of the first half of the season, and I think it's the biggest story of the second half of the season. What level of Bryce Harper am I about to get?
Yeah, at this point, he's been hurt. He's been in and out of the lineup. He hasn't been an MVP level Bryce. And the thing with Schwarber is Harper hasn't had great protection behind him, right? Like, you can't trust Castellanos behind him. Bohm, no. JT, no. Like, you don't have that great protection behind Bryce Harper. So that is a big part as to why he's been hitting behind that type of player, right? And you've had Turner back at the top of the lineup. So I don't think you really need to change the lineup as much heading into the second half because you want protection for Bryce Harper, Mike. That is what you want. And you've had him hit behind Bryce.
Well, you can't serve the two masters here. You can't have protection for Schwarber and Harper. They don't have that bat on the team. You can't do both. So you got to pick one or the other. Would you prefer Harper behind Schwarber or Schwarber behind Harper?
I would rather have Schwarber behind Harper. I think that's where I'd rather have him in the lineup at this point in the season. The way this team is constructed, Turner's been great in the leadoff spot. Leave him there, okay? Schwarber protecting Harper will only enhance Harper and help him out, I think, in the second half of the season because you don't have that other bat. You just don't. Your manpower isn't there with another impact bat as Kyle Schwarber.
And by the way, that is the story of the next couple of weeks here, is can they get the bat that we can make this conversation? Schwarber, Harper, and then somebody new. Your percentage chance of that happening, for me, it seems low. I don't see a scenario where the Phillies get a guy that's going to come here and hit fourth. I don't know that guy is available on the trade market right now. I don't see a scenario where they pick up a guy that is so impactful that he is hitting in the lineup behind Bryce Harper.
No.
So I would say from here on out, you are going to get Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm. The question would be, can you get a guy to hit fifth? Can you get a guy to hit sixth? I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we are with the opportunity on the trade market, who's available, what they can get. But this lineup tonight, when it comes out, will Schwarber be back in the leadoff? If they had the discussions between the brass and say, hey, listen, we're going to run all the numbers, we're going to run all the analytics. It was June 2nd of 2023. The Phillies were 25-31 on that day when they inserted Schwarber in the leadoff hole. From that point on, They went 65-40 to end the season. We know what their record is with Schwarber in the leadoff. And now you might say, look, first half of the season, they're 55-41. They don't this year. They don't need Schwarber in the leadoff hole. But do you go Schwarber, Turner, Harper again? Do you go back to that configuration, or do you stay with Turner and then go Schwarber, Harper, and say, Schwarber, you're the guy this year. Here's the big thing. Does business get in the way here?
Right.
Because the Phillies have to also account for the fact that they have to pay Kyle Schwarber. And if he's hitting in the 2-hole with Bryce Harper behind him, is he about to have the best second half of his season that he's ever had in his career? And then you have to pay him on the second half of the season if he goes bananas. So do the Phillies say, hey, listen, we're going to batch him back in the leadoff hole and maybe suppress some of his numbers? I don't think they would operate like that.
No.
Just thinking out loud, that's all.
No, I don't think they would operate like that at all because, listen, they are going to try and go for it. I mean, you've had multiple reporters, Ken Rosenthal, Jeff Passan, say the Phillies are going to make a move at the deadline. The thing with the bat at the deadline to add into that mix, right, is they're not going to have enough manpower in their system to trade for another bat because they have to go get 2 bullpen arms or a bullpen arm or a really good one, a good closer. So I don't see them getting this giant impact bat because of how bad the bullpen's been. So Schwarber and Harper are your guys. I would prefer Schwarber hitting behind Harper, but he's been the guy all year. He just has been so good in that first half, and then you have the All-Star Game MVP to go along with it. The lineup is just so fascinating because we've had such long discussions about it of who's going to hit here, who's going to hit leadoff. Is it Stott? Is it Turner? I think you just got to go Turner leading off. You can't have Schwarber in that spot the rest of the year. You just can't. And I'm a Schwarber leadoff guy. I love that. But the way this team's constructed, you just can't have it.
609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. You know, one of the things that we take a look at the rest of the season here is, one, are they able to make a impactful move that helps the lineup? 2, are they able to find probably 2 bullpen arms, which would be something that you have to do? And I think number 3 of the things on the list of things that you need to figure out is, if Bryce Harper is not able to, be the version of Bryce Harper that he has been, that you have come to know because of this wrist, what do you do with the batting lineup? Do you keep Schwarber 2? Do you move him back to the 1 spot and then see if you go Schwarber, Turner, Harper? I think that's something I'm going to be very intrigued when the lineup comes. Now, I think tonight it's going to be Turner, Schwarber, Harper. I do think it was a one-time thing. I do think it was a one-time thing for just the day. But I did find it very curious on a random Sunday. Why did you do this?
The last game before the All-Star break, too. Like, it was so random. Like, you haven't done this in a couple of weeks. Why are we doing it right before the All-Star break? That was very fascinating. So I'm curious to see how they go with the lineup tonight back at home against the Angels.
Yeah, and listen, the Angels are another story coming into town here because obviously this is a team that you would look at their roster and say, hey, are they a partner in a trade talk, right? I mean, This is a team that here's the reason why I think the Angels are a little bit of a problem. They have not made the playoffs in so long. They have Mike Trout. I think they are going to try to do whatever they can to try to make the playoffs. They are 4 games out of the playoffs in the wild card right now. They did this a couple of years ago where they were just picking guys up off of waivers. They were trying to do anything they could to try to make the playoffs. I think this team is going to try to do anything they can to try to make the playoffs, which would mean trying to trade with them might be very difficult in terms of, hey, can we go get one of your bullpen arms? Can we get one of your, right-handed bats? I don't think the Angels, they're 4 out. The Twins are 4 out. The Royals are 4.5. The Guardians are 4.5. The Rangers are 3.5. I don't think those teams are quote-unquote sellers at this stage of the game. Now, 2 weeks from now, this might change. Maybe you sweep the Angels, they're 7 out, and the next thing you know, you reevaluate where you are. But watching the Angels tonight, and we know many people have often talked about Mike Trout and whether or not he would be a possibility. I don't think he is. I think the contract that he makes is way too big. I think his injury history is way too much to even consider at this point. But, when Trout comes to town, he's actually talking today at 2:45. Yep. So Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, who normally joins us on Fridays at 2:30, is going to join us at 5:30 tonight. So he'll have talked to Trout, got the lineups. He'll be at Citizens Bank Park. So we're going to talk to him at 5:30 tonight. At 3 o'clock, it's a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat, as we normally do on a Friday, to kind of preview the second half of the season. And, I was we were discussing, the bullpen issues as we have ad nauseum this whole offseason here. The Phillies today with their bullpen is probably the number one issue that they have moving forward here. I don't think there's any question about that. But we're getting to a spot where once the trade deadline gets here, the decisions that they make, do they go all in? Do they put all their chips in the middle of the table? Do they decide to say, hey, we're going to do whatever it is, meaning if the move to trade and get better includes Andrew Painter or Justin Crawford or Aiden Miller or I think Nick Abel, they would trade in a heartbeat if the right deal was out there. But if any of those four guys, are they on their last 2 weeks here in Philadelphia? I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to see these next 2 weeks here.
Yeah, and what they get at the deadline, because this is a team that has to make a move. There's no way they can't sit on their hands and not make a move. I don't think Dombrowski is going to be like that. Ken Rosenthal said, quote, I do expect them to be aggressive and active. He was on Foul Territory Network talking about the Phillies. The Phillies are going to be active at the deadline. There's no question about that. It's just what pieces are they going to utilize to go and get an arm or a bat? They're going to prioritize the arm first. But if they have an offer for a bat, and it can't be Mike Trout, because that contract's too much. He's been injury prone, and you don't want that on your books for the next couple of years.
It's a shame.
It stinks because I would love it.
Never worked out.
I would love it, but I think they're going to prioritize the bullpen. That is where their biggest need is. Especially you're going to have Alvarado towards the end of the year, but you're not going to have him for the playoffs. You're going to have him a little bit in August and through September, but you won't have him through the postseason. So what they do at the deadline, and they're going to get controllable guys. I think that's what's key.
Well, that's been reported. They don't want rentals. They want guys that they can kind of have this year and then again next year.
But we've also heard from multiple reporters that this deadline teams are going to overpay. And the Phillies are right in that mix. They may have to overpay. So you might see a Miller or a Painter. Could they get moved? The Phillies get the right deal for a player that's controllable over the next couple of years.
All right, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Couple texts coming in. Guys, the Trout thing needs to stop. He's hurt every year, and he's scared of a big market.
Totally agree.
You think he's scared of a big market?
I don't think he's scared of a big market, but I think the Trout stuff does.
I've said for the last couple of years, I just don't see the Trout thing as a fit.
No.
He makes way too much money. The injury and the age, coupled with where the Phillies are with the injury and the age, they have a lot of guys who are older. And they can't take on another guy where they're paying over $300 million who may or may not be able to play for the second half of the season with the injury issues. So as much as I think everybody in this area would love to have seen Mike Trout wear a Phillies uniform at one point, I think that ship has kind of sailed there. But the Angels do have some other interesting guys who could help this team out. Also, one of the big stories of the second half of the season obviously is this offense and how it will look. Can they add something to the mix here? Is there even someone to add to the mix? I have not really heard, other than when Byron Buxton's name has been mentioned, thought he would have been a good fit. I don't know that there's really a name that I have heard that I'm like, that's the guy that, with Brent Rooker's name last year, okay, you got to go after him. Right-handed bat, would hit in the middle of this lineup, although it would downgrade you defensively, no question about it. I don't think the Phillies would mind that all that much because you can put a defensive replacement out there for him later in a game if you had to. But I don't know that there's a right-handed bat that makes me feel like, man, that's the guy I got a target on. So, as we start the second half of the season, the number one question for you as we start tonight. When the Phillies lineup is out, we'll have it for you here. We are live at Ventnor Social on Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. And, of course, you can stop out and see us. We got the Lombardi Trophy. Already people getting their picture taken with that. You can come down, get your picture taken. Check out this new spot here in Ventnor. Hot spot, Ventnor Summer at the Shore. We're running out of Shore weekends. Next week, the Eagles start, man.
Oh, 7 Thursdays away. 7 Thursdays away, Mike.
Under 50 days until the kickoff of the NFL season. All right, when we come back, Joel Embiid has been in the conversation the last 48 hours. Yesterday on the Sports Bash, we caught up with the author of that long-form piece, Dotun Akintoye. You're going to hear that conversation that we had with him, and then see what you think about Joel. That's next. This is the Sports Bash live from Ventnor Social on 97.3 ESPN. Dote Akintoye dropped a banger, which had a lot of people in this area talking, and obviously Joel Embiid is a hot topic of conversation, and everybody in the Delaware Valley has been reading his article over at ESPN.com. Joel Embiid, he sees you. We're going to dive into it right now as Dote Akintoye, ESPN.com staff writer, who wrote a awesome long-form piece on Joel Embiid, the man of mystery in these parts. Dotun, we appreciate you jumping on board and giving us more insight on the man that you got to sit down with and really get a lot deeper understanding of. How are you, man?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you stopping on. Great piece. Now, by the way, let's start with that. You don't see long-form journalism that much anymore, especially in the sports world. And this really took us from his upbringing all the way to where we are almost now. I want to start with this, though. As you sat down with Joel and, over the years tried to, warm up to him and get him to sit down with you, you sit down with him and over time talk to him. What were you hoping to find out or better understand about Joel when you wrote this piece?
Yeah, I think my motivation for starting the piece was, I just felt like we were having, in general, maybe like the stupidest version of the conversation we could be having about Joel. And it just seemed like there was more there. There was more to say, and that there was more to him than the kind of caricature that had become his persona, for good or ill. Whether you were a huge fan of his or a huge critic, it just seemed like there was more going on with him. Like, his intelligence is like discernible from far away. His sense of humor is discernible from far away, and I just thought that there was something here to talk about. This was a person who, if you could get him to talk, really fascinating things would happen.
So he starts to talk. He starts to warm up with you. Did it take a while for you to kind of get him to the point where he felt comfortable kind of divulging about his past? Because I think a lot of this story, as I read it, there are two sides to this, Dotun. To me, you're going to have people who read this about Joel and kind of read it and say, this explains a lot about the career of Joel Embiid as we see it here. You're going to have the other side of people saying, Joel's making excuses again. This is the way Joel has been. I think it just depends on the type of person that is reading that story, whether you have somebody who has empathy and wants to read into why Joel has maybe not been the player that we all hoped for, or maybe he has been the player that he hopes. Or you have the other side who said he has not, he has failed to live up to what he hoped for. But did it take a while to kind of crack into that?
Yes, for sure. I mean, he's not, I think one of the things that the piece demonstrates is that he's not a very trusting person. So yeah, it took some time. It took some patience. It took a lot of showing up, and I'm sure being slightly annoying, or maybe even more than slightly. And then I don't know what changed really. It's I would be making something up, I think, if I told you I fully understood why he decided to talk. I mean, some of it I'm sure has to be with our background. I was born in Nigeria. He's from Cameroon. He's born in Cameroon. So I think maybe there's a sort of slight affinity there, or he thought maybe someone from his part of the world, someone who was born somewhere else, someone who's also an immigrant, maybe had a kind of basic grounding that would make his experience more intelligible to me. So maybe that was part of it. But I don't think I'll ever really know why it is he decided to talk.
How much of his culture and his background that you can relate to is part of the reason why there could be a disconnect between him and fans of the Philadelphia 76ers, who are notoriously some of the most, passionate fans. And I often have said, before I read your article or talked to you or have the opportunity to get some insight, is here's a guy who grew up in Cameroon and is looking at these fans thinking, why do these people care so much? Like, this is almost like a culture divide that I think that the fans can't understand how he views them, and he might look at the fans and say, I don't understand why you get so passionately angry at me. Is that something that is a possibility here, the disconnect between his upbringing and the way the fans view him?
No, actually, I don't think that's the case. I mean, for one, I think he's actually quite beloved. Is one of the things I think this working on this piece has taught me, and then also I think maybe seeing the reaction to it. I think there's a great deal of affection for him actually among Philly fans, and a great yearning to be close to him, to understand him better. My sense is that he brings that out of people. So I actually don't think I don't think there's a huge disconnect. I think there's a yearning for connection actually.
From him, he yearns to connect better?
Well, see, now that's an interesting question. That's complicated, I think. He's deeply sensitive. He is like startlingly intelligent, and I don't say that in the stupid way people talk about athletes. I mean, like, he's surprising when he starts talking. He's like a wonderful noticer of things and noticer of people, and very attuned, partly because I think he doesn't trust a lot, very attuned to what he sees are what he thinks of as people's motivations. He's wary about connection, I think. But I think also in great need of it, I think that's how it goes.
Dotu Akintoye is with us, ESPN.com staff writer, wrote the long-form piece on Joel Embiid. His upbringing, his parents, you mentioned them in there, and then his, high school years where he lives with a family and he doesn't have a lot of connection with them or the team. How much does that part of his life translate to the player he's become and what he is right now with the Philadelphia 76ers, where he has had this unbelievably unfortunate run of injuries that he does discuss in the piece that we'll get to? But how much going all the way back to his family and his upbringing do you think kind of seeps into his NBA career?
Wow. I think, the structure of the piece basically is about 4 years, in essence. It's about the last year, about 2024. And then it's about his last year in high school in the U.S., which has been his second year in the U.S., and then his first 2 years in Philly. Those are the sort of basic tent poles of the piece. And, the wounds, emotional, psychological, physical, of those years, I think all kind of arrived together in what's happened in the last year. Like, there's stuff with his body, there's stuff with his relationship with the Sixers. There's, his general, inability to trust. One of his former coaches in high school said something to me that I, was like a very important piece, very important statement that led me in some ways through the story. He said that, Joel would have been fine on a deserted island alone. And Joel told me that story about what happened to him when he took a trip to France with his parents when he was a kid. I didn't ask him about that story. I had no idea that such a thing had ever happened to him. He brought it up. I think there's always been something lonely in him. And I don't think he can really account for it or can tell you where it comes from or what it is, but it's there. And I think that's one of the things he's been learning about himself in the last year.
Yeah. He talks a lot about trust. This goes back to his family and high school through college. He gets to the league. Did you get any sense that he had a connection with Sam Hinkie and then them kind of breaking that, and then the Brian Colangelo to the burner gate caused a lot of friction at the start of his career, and how much those first 2 years and then all of that turnover early also manifests to the player and the guy he is now?
Yeah, I think all of that is true. I don't know if I can say he and Sam were close because I didn't get a chance to talk to Sam. A bunch of people I spoke to in the story were like, "You should talk to Sam," and I tried several times to reach out to Sam, and someone else told me what's great about Sam is that Sam is not going to talk to you for the story. So
did Joel tell you the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, Joel was like, he's like, you should talk to Sam, but, well aware that Sam was not going to talk.
Does Joel still talk to Sam?
Yeah, they still communicate. I
Cool.
think Sam means a great deal to him, actually. And so, there's famously the post he. It's always hard to tell how much of what Joel does is funny and then how much of it is like kind of heartbreaking to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a connection there, and I think, losing Sam from that organization, and especially what Sam was replaced with, I think is what's most important. Business is business, and Joel was not at that point in his career, I think, maybe important enough to think of it as a sort of personal slight. But to lose Sam and have Sam replaced with the Colangelos and all of that stuff, I think that was a really damaging experience.
The part of the article as we get closer, the James Harden stuff, he talks about how, people don't know this, they don't talk. Do you get the sense that Joel is not close with a lot of teammates and former teammates, and that he's kind of disappointed by the fact that this relationship has deteriorated over something that he really didn't have much to do with in his mind?
Yeah, I think, in a story this long, you have to make choices about what you think is important and, what can stay because you don't want to lose people. But James and Joel were like extremely close when James was here. Like a member of Joel's security team at his home was passed down from James. So those two were really, really, really tight. And I think Joel is like remains. He doesn't like to say he'll say something like it's sad, and then he'll change his mind 30 seconds later and say it's disappointing, because I think he's always afraid of having said too much or given too much of himself. But I think he's really wounded by the loss of that friendship and thinks. Yeah. Is sort of trapped by a kind of principle he has about not getting involved in personnel decisions. But yeah, I think it hurts him.
We're talking with Dotun Akintoye, who was the author of the great long-form piece over at ESPN.com on Joel Embiid. And, one of the things that happened last year, he got into the altercation with one of the writers. Then there was a team meeting. Stuff leaked. It seems that he's possibly not over that, number one. And number two, he seemingly believes that he knows who that person was, and then seemed to indicate that person is still here. How did you kind of see that whole situation, and will that be something that he has passed, or will that be something he kind of holds on to and that it forms a divide or a problem in this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the person I met, I think, is not going to forgive a betrayal like that quickly, is what I'd say. You hesitate, or at least I feel hesitant to project forward in some ways. I think, one of the things Joel and I talked about was therapy. And I think he's learning a lot about himself and trying to change certain things. But that feeling in him, that fear of betrayal, and that leak is like it's a minor sort of trespass in a way, but I think for Joel, it like really strikes at some stuff that's really core to his personality. And yeah, I have I pressed him, beyond what showed up in the piece about that, but he just wasn't going to reveal a name.
But he believes that guy is still here, right?
Well, that's the thing. He wouldn't really tell me that either. He refused to confirm that person was still around.
Because I'll tell you this, Dotun, I don't know if you see that, there are people trying to put the pieces together, which, there's a player on the current roster who's now trying to stick up for himself. Like, hey, it wasn't me, because the way he answered your question was, well, free agency just started, so I don't know if the guy's here or not. It sounds like someone who had an opt-in or opt-out clause. That's the way it made it sound, right?
Listen, that is beyond my ken, I believe. But
psychoanalyzing his thought process there of, maybe will he opts in, maybe he's here. If he opts out, maybe he won't be here. So that put like a couple guys on they were catching some strays today. Some of the opt-in players.
Yeah, well, Joel can be coy that way.
Yes,
that's part of his that's one of the ways he hides himself is subtle little. I don't even know what the best way to describe it is. He likes to stay in control of that kind of thing, is what I'd say.
Yes. So obviously, Joel is now entering, his 30s, and he is getting to a point where people have now believed that, hey, he can't stay healthy. Do you look at him or do you talk to him now and feel, because he has said, hey, I'm not going to rush myself back. That was the basis of the conversation that started all this stuff, was that he feels he has rushed himself back, which has hurt him, but he did it for his teammates, and people call him out saying that, quote, he might be soft. You gave him, which I thought was very good job by you, giving him, hey, well, this is what people think about you. Do you feel that he has the personality that he is out to prove people wrong, or is that not something that is in his mindset?
Well, I think his whole career, in a way, has been proving people wrong. Certainly people at the beginning of his career who thought he was going to be a bust or would never get healthy. So I think like most great athletes, he nurses his grievances in that way. It's fine to, it's useful to have an enemy when you need to, put up 1,000 jump shots a day. It's useful to have someone on the other end of that. But I don't know. I think it's really hard to tell. The place he's in is a place of real uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point he knows he's pretty assured about his own greatness. And for him, I think he wants a championship, not to demonstrate anything to anybody. I think it's to demonstrate it to himself. I think he knows who he is and how great he is and what he has it in him to be. And I don't think he's lacking confidence about that anymore. And it took years as the process for him to get there. I think it took a lot of support for him to overcome his doubts. So I don't think he has those anymore. And the question is, has that clicked in for him at a point where it's too late for him physically to execute?
So does he think physically he is on the clock as well? Does he obviously we haven't seen him. We don't know where he is. The team doesn't seem to have much information. I don't know when you got a chance to sit down with him, but at that time, did he also have doubt whether he is physically going to be able to be the player that he was?
Well, he refused to entertain it, as Daryl Morey refused to entertain it.
What is the time frame, if you don't mind asking, on when these conversations were had? Were they recent?
Yeah, well, so the first one we had was in early April, I think, or near the end of March. It was right before his surgery.
Okay.
And then we met again a couple of weeks after his surgery. And then we had a phone conversation about, I don't even know, a couple of weeks ago, maybe less than that.
And the Morey camp?
The Morey conversation happened in April.
Oh, okay.
Right before the end. Yeah.
So your sense of the organization, frustrated, up in arms, confident, like Morey says, look, he's the kind of player you double down, maybe even triple down on. He is worth being fired for. So do you get a sense that, look, they really didn't have another answer here? Like, how do you feel the organization views their relationship and where they are with Joel at the time you spoke to them?
I think Daryl and Nick are, I think, trying to, be understanding. I mean, it's a tense relationship for sure. But, for example, Joel told me, and Coach Nurse confirmed, Coach Nurse will be over at his house and play the piano. He's one of the only two people who plays the piano in Joel's home. The other person is Joel's sister. So, like most things with Joel, it's never one thing. That relationship is complicated and it's tense, but that's not all that it is. And I think from the organizational standpoint, from the sort of Morey perspective, they ran through a battery of tests last summer, and they made the decision they made to extend him. And even before that, they made the Paul George decision, which is really a Joel Embiid decision, ultimately. I mean, you don't pay that kind of money to Paul George at his age because of Paul George. You pay it because you think that is your 2.5 / third option in the postseason to help close out games because you have one of the three best players in the world.
Right.
So they bet quite a lot of money on Joel last summer, and given the health issues of those two players, there's nothing to get creative about. They are untradeable assets. So either they fulfill the potential that you thought they had when you bring them together, or you crash and burn. But there's no way to maneuver yourself out of it. I don't see. Now, Joel is great enough that maybe there's someone somewhere who would take that on, but it seems highly unlikely to me that if Joel's great enough to be traded, then Joel's not going to be traded.
Dotun Akintoye is with us, spending a couple more minutes with him. Again, I want to certainly direct everybody to ESPN.com to read that long-form piece, which many people have texted in today that they really enjoyed it, Dotun. So, number one, really good piece. It was a very insightful piece on a lot. What was your take then when Morey doesn't finish the sentence? He laughs. The staffer laughs. And what was that whole moment kind of like, and what were you hoping to hear from that? Did you ever get any sort of closure on that moment?
No closure. That was the interview, and I walked to the parking lot and sat in my car and wrote it all down. That was a really, what I hope to convey with that scene is that the outcome I described, one where Joel is never really fully healthy again and is not the elite level player he has been, and he becomes, a kind of financial albatross around the organization's neck, is a thing, like, as an outcome so bad, Daryl Morey can't stand to think about it or talk about it,
Yeah.
So that's what I hope to convey with that scene is like having to think about that or talk to a reporter about it is like a moment of pure, like, physical panic.
Talking to Joel, do you get the sense that he believes he will be ready to play at the start of this season?
I don't know. I think one of the things he's finished talking that way. That seemed pretty clear to me.
In terms of timetables, you mean?
Yeah, he's not going to talk about timetables. He's not going to generate that kind of expectation, that kind of demand from people, because I think he struggles with that. He has a real need to please and a real fear of disappointing people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways he's trying to take control is like, I'm just going to do what the doctors are telling me to do. I'm going to go step by step in the rehab. And when I'm ready to come back, I'm going to come back. But I'm not going to say November, for example, and then it's November and people are like, where's Joel? Where's Joel? And now there's the cries for Joel has to come play in now because he is who he is. He comes back maybe earlier than he ought to. So that's how he sees it. I don't think we're going to get any kind of dates from him until he's feeling much better than he's feeling now.
Well, obviously, a lot of people talking about this piece. He is a very, misunderstood. Would you say that he is a misunderstood guy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's a very complicated person, and that breeds misunderstanding. So, yeah.
Dotun Akintoye, great job. Appreciate you jumping on the show. We'll keep an eye on what happens with Joel, obviously, but we got a lot of insight on the man, Joel Embiid, from you, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody check that out over on ESPN.com. Dotun Akintoye had unprecedented access to Joel Embiid.
And we were kind enough, or lucky enough to have him on the Sports Bash. It's funny, my entire feed is still reacting to this story. And we've had stations across the country, people asking us, can we get bites from your conversation? And the reaction we have gotten to that Joel Embiid interview conversation, I have people texting me on my personal phone like, that was unbelievable. So if you missed it in the 5 o'clock hour last night, we replayed that for you today. For those of you who, hey, we like the people who get to listen for all 4 hours, but that's not everybody. And there was a lot of people saying, hey, I missed that interview yesterday. So there you go. We played it for the people, and still people texting in and reacting to all of the stuff that Dotun got a chance to ask Joel. And I will say this, I think Dotun did a great job. I'm not sure that he cleared up a lot. I still think people still are split on what they think about Joel Embiid. Bob Wankel joins me next. A happy hour Friday at Ventnor Social. We are live on location today. Great spot to come watch the Phils and the Angels tonight. Mike Trout spoke to the media a couple of moments ago. Says he hears the trade speculation all the time. I would imagine it will be just that speculation. But the Phillies lineup is out. The first lineup post All-Star break, and it's brought to you by Instant Services, the tri-state area's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to see how you can win 4 Phillies Hall of Fame Club tickets. Let's bring Bob Wankel in for a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. A little interesting lineup here. I tweeted out right before the break that the only spot that Stott can now hit in the lineup is 9th, and it seems like the Phillies listened to me. They have moved Stott to the 9 hole, and Marsh is in the 6 hole tonight. It is Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, Marsh, Realmuto, Kepler, and Stott. That is your first lineup, Bob Wankel, for the start of the second half of the season, though. They didn't stick with Schwarber in the leadoff hole. He went back to the 2 spot here, but it was inevitable. It seems like that Bryson Stott, something had to be done there. He's hitting 9th, but Marsh in the 6 hole. Is Marsh hitting in the 6 hole a championship caliber offense?
You're setting me up with a softball to kick this one off today. No, of course it's not. But, this lineup shows a little urgency, and I think it's a put-you-on-notice type of lineup. Bryson Stott hitting in the 9 hole for the first time this season tonight. And I think it's just we're running out of places to put you, Bryson. He's been one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball for the last 12 months now. And you can take it a step further and look at Max Kepler again in the 8 hole tonight. That's only the second time that he's hit out of the 8 hole this season. They're running out of places to put both Max Kepler and Bryson Stott. They have to produce. And if they want to show that they are going to have more significant roles, well, they have to do it starting right now. And, Phillies might make some roster tweaks here that impact those guys in the next 11 days if they don't get it going right away.
Yeah, I know they have about 20 days or so to do this, or less actually, Bob, to kind of get this done here. What if right now, if Dave Dombrowski was able to do something immediately, what is his most immediate thing to the lineup? Forget the bullpen. He's looking around at this lineup. He's got 3 big problems he knows: left field, center field, second base. Which one is the most fixable, and which one does he have to say, that's the one I need to fix?
I think that he's going to go to the outfield. Like, the reality of it is it's going to be interesting to see if there is an upgrade. We don't know, again, and I've said this numerous times on your show, but we don't know who is going to be available, what teams are going to be willing to tweak. And it doesn't have to be a fire sale situation. You can go to the AL Central and you can look at teams that are hanging around, and they might not do a full-blown sale, but maybe they say, look, we can tweak. We have a surplus or an excess in one spot. We want something back that'll help us. And maybe you get creative that way. But I think the Phillies go to the outfield. My guess is that it's probably left field, more of a complementary type piece that can hit, from the right side. I think that's the most likely scenario. But I don't think you put anything past the Phillies here. I do think they're going to be aggressive, and I think they'll explore all opportunities and possibilities here at the deadline.
Obviously, you take a look at all of the situations. Do you think if there was a deal, Bob, to improve second base, they would consider that, or are they okay with the Stott-Sosa thing? But if they could get an upgrade at second base, do they even consider that?
I think you have to. Unfortunately, Bryson Stott has gone from a player that we thought might be a core piece here for a decade to a player that really he's below replacement level in terms of his offensive output. It's been like that for a while now. And so I don't think if the right deal came along that the Phillies would necessarily scoff at that. Now, that all being said, he's still a plus defender. He does have a feel for the moment. I kind of roll my eyes when I say that, but there's some truth to it. And Edmundo Sosa gives you enough punch from the other side that I think you have enough at second base to make it work. But, again, I'll take a page out of the Johan Rojas playbook. You can get that from your second baseman if you're getting more from your corner outfield spots. And when you're not getting the production from your corner outfield spots, then you have to kind of look at it and say, all right, is this enough? I really do think they'll address the offense. And let me just say this. You go back to June 1st, this team is 19-19 over its last 38 games. Now, granted, they've only played 10 games against teams with losing records until they welcome the Angels tonight. So it's been a hard schedule. They've played teams with winning records all month so far, heading into the break all throughout July. But the fact of the matter is that their starting pitching since June 1st has pitched to a 2.63 ERA. It's almost 0.7 of a run better than the next best team, and they're playing 500 baseball in that span. This offense is not good enough.
Not good enough. Bob Wankel, Mike and Bob, Friday Baseball Chat. Were you at all looking at the fact that Schwarber hit leadoff and thought that might have been an interesting storyline, or was that did you listen to what Topper said and kind of say, yeah, it's a one-day thing?
Right now it's a one-day thing, but I think that when you look at an offense that in 11 games this month has failed to put up at least 4 runs 5 different times in 11 games, you have to go to the drawing board again and say, all right, like we've had some success with this in the past. I don't think the Phillies want to hit Kyle Schwarber leadoff. I think they want to get away from that. But the offense is the offense, and you're getting this inconsistent output that far too often can't even get you a 4-pack on the board. Look, I mean, I think that's an option that's going to remain on the table until they rectify it from a personnel standpoint, if they can.
All right, so Schwarber is in the 2-hole. Is that the best spot for him? Now, earlier in the show, I made a funny little joke here that some people thought I was being serious, but I said the best move business-wise is to suppress his numbers so they don't have to pay him anymore. I was kidding, obviously, but some people don't know my humor sometimes, Bob. I'm a little dry, you know. What's the best spot for Schwarber, though? Because leadoff, they always win. His numbers would be probably his RBIs and stuff would be down. In the 2-hole, with Harper hitting behind him, is where I seem to like him the most because I've never seen him get to hit a full season with a player like Harper behind him. But unfortunately, Harper is not the Harper that we know so far. So it's hitting behind Harper the better spot for Schwarber, or 2 or 1.
Well,
where does Bob Wankel write him into the lineup?
This particular lineup, I don't hit him leadoff because you're not getting enough on base out of guys like Kepler and certainly a guy like Bryson Stott. These guys aren't getting on base enough, and this team does not have a lot of punch up and down the lineup in terms of power output. I have to maximize the very little power output I have. I need guys on base ahead of Kyle Schwarber, so I can't hit him leadoff on a consistent basis right now in this moment. To me, I think that Bryce Harper should be the 2-hitter. If it were my lineup, it would be Turner 1. It would be Harper 2 because though he is not in terms of the power all the way there, he's still getting on base at an elite clip. So I'm going Turner, I'm going Harper, I'm going Schwarber, and then you can back them up with your Bones and Schwarbers, Bones and Castellanos of the world from there.
Okay, so by the end of the All-Star break, will they have found a player to hit behind Harper, or will Bohm be that guy?
By the end of the trade deadline, you mean? Look, I think if they – to me, it's like if you want to win a championship, Alec Bohm can't hit cleanup. Alec Bohm can hit 6th. Alec Bohm can hit 7th. And I think you can have yourself a pretty nice offense, but you can't have a guy who's let
me ask you this about Bohm. Do you have any interest in seeing him possibly hit 2? Turner, Bohm, Harper, Schwarber.
You could do that. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Again, he has to hit 300 for the on-base part of it to work. But assuming that he's going to continue to swing a hot bat, if you think he's going to hit 280, 290 plus from here on out, then it's you could do worse than that. But I just can't have him in a spot. I know about all the doubles in 2024. I know that he was very productive in terms of driving in runs the first half of last season. But again, you're going on basically a calendar year here of him not doing those things, and I just don't think that you can do that. I just don't think you can have a guy that basically has hit 12 home runs in the last calendar year be your cleanup guy.
Well, then it sounds like at the end of the day, Bob, no matter what move they make, if Alec Bohm is still the only option to hit in the 4th spot, the team's not good enough. Even if you do improve left field, center field, second base, it seems that if you can't find a guy that is good enough to bump Bohm down, that this offense will not be good enough. Is that what you're basically saying on July 18th?
That's what I am saying. I mean, if you look at their overall performance in the first half, they're 12th in baseball in runs per game. They're 11th in OPS. It's not like it's a terrible offense. It's not like you can't win games with this offense, but we have from the start, every time we talk about the Phillies, we talk about October. Can they finish? Can they make that run in the fall? And if you're talking about building a team that wins 92 games and has a shot, then you could probably get by with this. You probably can make it work. because I think that they're going to win their 92, 93 games, even if they don't make a big upgrade offensively. You're talking about altering the DNA of an inconsistent offense that has killed you in each of the last 3 postseasons at the absolute worst times. I just don't know how you can go into this and say, yeah, we feel good without doing something that's meaningful.
Yeah. Bob Wankel, of course, the Fighting Words podcast. You can check that out on all podcasting platforms. He joins us crossing broad as well as the Phillies get ready for the second half of the baseball season. I will ask you, because they are here, is Mike Trout's available? Are you playing? Are you playing along?
I just can't imagine they would get involved with that contract. I mean, the Angels would have to swallow quite a bit of the money. I just don't think they will want to do that. The Angels are not exactly the most aggressive team in terms of spend. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think that they want to bring another older player that's a little bit more injury prone. No offense to Mike Trout, but it's just the reality of the situation. I'd be stunned. Now, in terms of like what they could use, like take the profile of the player, would if Mike Trout were healthy and if the dollars and years all worked out, like it'd be a no-brainer in terms of bringing him into this lineup. But I just don't think it's realistic.
All right, in your mind, we're going to be talking about this the next couple of Mike and Bob Friday baseball chats, I would imagine. But in your mind, if there was a surprise shakeup, is that a possibility? Does that exist for you? In other words, Castellanos got traded, maybe Stott got traded, Bohm got traded. I don't know, do you put Marsh on that list? I mean, something to where there's somebody in the core everyday group that is not here after the trade deadline.
I think it's possible. I will say this. I think at the end of last season, there was some thought that they needed a shakeup. And I think that the Phillies probably had conversations throughout the winter that involved deals that would be construed as a shakeup. And none of them came to fruition. None of them materialized. But I think that if you felt then that the team needed a little bit of a change, nothing really happened in the first half that should make you feel differently about that. Like, they had a good first half. They're in first place. They have the 4th best record in the National League, and they're 2.5 games out. This isn't a bad team. It's not a team that you have to blow it up and rework 90 different pieces. But I just think everyone knows, if you watch and you're being honest with yourself, this team needs a little bit of a change. And when you have a number of guys that are underperforming to a degree, whether that be Nick Castellanos or Bryson Stott or the center field platoon or the left field platoon, I think that creates an environment where you say, oh, okay. Like, would I be shocked within the 72 hours leading up to the trade deadline, we see the news break and I send you a text message off air going, whoa, how about that? I think that that's in play here. I do.
Can they get creative and, obviously, I say creative. Can they get creative and use their minor league guys and use some of the else that we're not aware of? Is there other guys that are in this minor league system that you think are attractive pieces to get what they need done or to do what they need? Does it have to be one of the 4?
Yeah, I think that they do have some interesting pieces in the system, and I think that you'll probably see them involved in a deal here. Whether it be Escobar, we've obviously talked a lot about Mick Abel. I don't think it'll be Painter, but I do think that Crawford, I think Miller, I think Escobar, I think the catching prospect.
Have they changed their thoughts on Miller? Do you think?
I don't think so. I know that his numbers are a little bit underwhelming this year, but I think that there's still a lot of encouraging signs out of him, and I think that they remain pretty high on him. But I think what's changed is that understanding that if we're going to win, we absolutely have to, it's non-negotiable, add to the bullpen mix, and we need to explore ways to maybe tweak our offense. And in order to do that, you're going to have to do something that hurts. And by the way, look, you take a look at how that they just completed the draft, a lot of college arms. Like they are signaling that they are probably going to part ways with some of their pitching, and I think that starts with Mick Abel. I think it's gone from we'll see what happens with Mick Abel to likely that he's traded at the deadline.
Okay, so Mick Abel, likely, you said. What is, in your mind, you talked to Aaron Nola not too long ago on the Fighting Words podcast. How does he factor into the second half of the season for you?
I think what you're going to see, I mean, I take him at his word. He told us when we spoke to him 2 months, and 2 months put him at mid-August, that second week of August. And right now, all indications are that he's on track for that he feels good and that he's progressing. And certainly things can happen here, that he's got a while to go. But I think that you see him back in mid-August, and if that's the case, look, I've been critical of Aaron Nola over time. I have. I sort of feel like he's going to come back and be more like the guy that we expect him to be. Now, does it happen right away? I don't know, but they'll have about 4 starts by the time you even get to September. And if he's sharp in September, I think he's part of your playoff rotation. I think he's probably one of the 4 guys when you get to a deeper series, if you get to a deeper series. Does he crack that top 3? Is he going to pitch his way past, if everyone stays healthy, Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, or Christopher Sanchez? I don't think so. Not right now. But yeah. I think he's in the mix as that 4th guy.
Have you changed at all on your feelings on Painter's role or what he might do this year?
A little bit. I wouldn't be soured on Andrew Painter's future prognosis. Like I don't think anything has happened here that this season that makes you say like, oh, maybe he's not the guy. But is he the guy right now in the middle of a pennant race? I don't know. I mean, he's coming back off of a significant surgery. I think maybe to some degree we looked past that a little bit. He would not be the first guy to come off that surgery and not hit the ground running immediately. I mean, look what's going on with Spencer Strider this year. I mean, not that he's been horrible, but he's not been vintage Spencer Strider. So is Andrew Painter maybe a year away from being the guy the Phillies hoped? Possibly. I still think we're going to see him up here at some point. I think he's going to get an opportunity. But is he coming up and is he going to be the immediate upgrade to that rotation spot? Maybe not. Maybe he pitches out of the bullpen too. We'll see.
Max Kepler, here or gone by the end of the season?
I don't know. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but I think he's out of here in 2 weeks. I do. I just don't. I don't see.
Why? So why the last day of the first half he doesn't play against a right-hander? And then he's right back in the lineup today. Like, that to me is what's perplexing.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that they wanted to give Kemp a shot, though, against the Padres. He's got some family out there. He had friends out there, and he gave him a good at-bat in the game Saturday night late. And Kepler's just been not if we weren't on the public radio right now, Mike, I would use a different way to describe this, but he's been not great. So I think I get it in that spot, but you're going to let him probably play through the deadline here. Because, look, if you want to deal him, I think it ends in a DFA, right? But if you want to make a deal where you just get something back, whether it's even some salary relief, you hope that he heats up here for the next 12 days or so and gives you a little bit of juice going into the deadline. But I wouldn't expect much.
Yeah, I know the Kepler story has kind of has manifested itself from, hey, it's hard when you're not playing every day. Then he doesn't play the last day. Now he's back in the lineup. I have said all along for the Kepler story, they'll try to find a trade for Crawford. If there's a trade that makes sense, they will move Crawford. And if not, he will be the center fielder on August 1st, and Marsh will play left field, and Kepler would be gone. That's how I kind of see it happen. I could be wrong about that, but I would think that's what they're trying to do. See if anybody gives them something to make this team better for Crawford. If they say nope, they just instead of making the trade to improve, they just plug Crawford in to improve.
Well, I think that there's 3 different outcomes, and 2 of them would signal the end of Max Kepler. One, you bring up Crawford, move Marsh over, right? And then you have the Marsh Kemp platoon, and then Kepler's the odd man out. The other part of it is, it's whether or not you trade for a center fielder or you bring up Crawford and then slot Marsh over. Like those 2 things very well likely could happen. The only way that I think he stays is if, say, a team calls and says, like the scenario that I just gave you, we're still in it this year. We're not punting on 2025, but we're willing to part ways with a reliever. And you're like, well, what team would be like that? Well, look at the Phillies last year. They trade Gregory Soto and Sir Anthony Dominguez from a team that they felt like could win a championship. Like, you can move relief pieces, right? So maybe a team gives the Phillies a reliever, but they want back a guy that can help them win in the short term, like Brandon Marsh. Like, maybe a team calls on Brandon Marsh, right? And then all of a sudden that opens up that spot and left. You still have a need for a left-handed hitter, and then Kepler sticks. But I don't think it's likely.
All right, I want to ask you a question and get your opinion on this, Bob Wankel. The Fighting Words podcast, I'd like to hear an expository from you on this one. Any shot Rangers the guy because they don't think they can re-sign him?
Yes, I mean, anything's possible, but again, it's just so hard to say, like, the strength of our team, the one thing that we can really lean into is our starting pitching. And if we're not going to be able to tweak our offense otherwise, and if we're not going to be able to really go out and get some killers late in the game out of the bullpen, like, you can ill afford to – it would have to – I guess what I'm really saying, it's a long-winded way of saying it has to be for the absolute right guy. And I think for that reason, it's very unlikely to occur. But if there was the right player, then I think you have to think about it.
It just seems, and I don't know, maybe you can come up with a different answer than I can, but I can't find a guy that's available that we've heard of. Now, maybe there's somebody that's not available or that's available that we haven't heard of that is going to supplant Alec Boehm, hit in the middle of this lineup, and be able to help the team. I just have not seen that name. Buxton might have been the guy. Now, Buxton has kind of thrown a wrench into this thing by saying, I have no trade clause, I'm not waiving it, I'm a Twin for life. He would possibly be that guy, but I don't know that you're willing to give up what you need to give up to get him. Outside of that, I don't know that they can find this player.
Yeah, and that's why we have that's why we have these conversations, and it's a matter of, well, you know, in an ideal world, you take a couple good prospects and you go get your middle of the order bat and you go try to win a World Series. But you leave yourself in this position when you don't do the things necessary in the offseason to fix your issues. You're at the mercy of the market. You're at the mercy of the standings. You have to see what comes to you, and there's a world where maybe that thing doesn't come to you. And that's why I think that the Phillies offseason was so disappointing in that way.
Bob Wankel, the Fighting Words podcast is available on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat starts off the second half of the season. It is the Phillies and the Angels. Jesus Luzardo gets the ball for the Phils. Citizens Bank Park, 6 o'clock tomorrow is the start time. A little odd start time for the game tomorrow, and we'll be talking about it. All right, Bob. Well, we are at Ventnor Social. You're going to have to get down here with one of these Fridays, man.
It looks awesome.
This board behind, I don't know if you can see. I'll try to see the Saquon wall over there.
Yeah, I see it. Very nice. It looks like you're having fun down there. Good buzz.
Yeah, we got the Lombardi Trophy here. Nice little picture with the Lombardi Trophy. It's nice little Friday. Happy hour Friday to you. I'm sure you're chomping at the bit.
I am. Yeah, I got a couple things to finish up, and we'll be on our way.
See you, bud.
All right,
Bob Wankel, everybody. Of course, the Fighting Words podcast. Him and Anthony Sanfilippo do a great job on that. All right, the Sports Bash Live, our Phillies lineup is out. We told you Marsh in the 6-hole, Stott in the 9-hole. Now, I tweeted this out a couple days ago, right before the break. I said the only acceptable spot for Stott in the lineup now, it is only 9.
It can only be 9.
It can only be 9.
At this point.
He's that bad right now. And I hate to say it because I think a lot of us have been wrong about Stott. I'm one of them. I thought Stott would be a guy that
I thought he'd hit for at least like 280.
I wasn't one of those people that thought he'd be like a batting champion.
No.
Like you said, 275,
Yep.
280, smart guy, good at bats. When he batted leadoff, I didn't think that was going to be good. I was wrong initially about that. For the first couple weeks, he was a pretty good leadoff guy.
I got the question off to Thompson. Even asked him about it.
Yep.
That didn't pan out.
So Stott has proven me to be wrong in multiple incarnations here. So Bryson Stott hitting 9 today. That's the move. Hitting 9.
Either 9 or on the bench. Either or.
Yeah. Tim in Summers Point says, Mike, the move was available last year. They needed to go out and get Brent Rooker and Mason Miller from the A's.
I love that text.
Yeah, I like the Rooker and Miller. I just, I don't know that the A's were really we talked to –
They're 11 out right now of the wild card.
We had Frank Close on, though, when we were at Uri's that day. We did the show at Uri's for the watch party on Wednesday 2 weeks ago. And he said the A's are just so stubborn with Rooker and Miller. So this guy's saying that was the move. You're right. It was the move if, in fact, the A's were willing to move him. And I think they wanted to basically move heaven, hell, and the earth to get
well,
that
now
done.
Miller's value might have gone down a little bit, so it may not be as expensive, but Rooker's value's gone up, in my estimation.
I said this before. I said this earlier in the week. At this point, the way Stott has played in terms of offensively, I am at the point where I think Sosa, and I'm not saying just start Sosa, but you have to almost go 50-50. Forget right-hander, left-hander. I think you play Stott against most righties Sosa against lefties, but you have to play Sosa 4 times a week and Stott 3 times a week, and then maybe vice versa. Maybe the next week
If
it's
somebody
4 and
gets
3.
hot.
It's almost a 50-50 split at this
I agree
point. Yeah.
at this point with Stott.
All right, more Sports Bash coming up, 97.3 ESPN. It is the Friday 5. My 5 favorite games. What are we in, week 11? Week 11 of the NFL. My 5 favorite NFL games for week 11. That's next. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 332 Sports Bash live today. Man, a lot of people coming out and saying hello. We've caught up with a lot of cool people who just stopped out, took a picture with the Lombardi Trophy. You can stop out. We're at Ventnor Social here in the 3 o'clock hour. It is brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing service, installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907, online, broadleafs.net. Now I want to call people out. We've had multiple people come up to us and say that they called out of work to come here today.
That's crazy. Can't give away names, though.
Nope. Well, I don't know all the names, but there are people sitting here that I think should be at work today and said, we came to see the trophy today.
I mean, it's a Philly Sports Friday. Come on.
All right. It is time for the Friday Five. Our Friday Five. These are the 5 games that I'm looking forward to in week number 5 that aren't Eagles games. Now, we're going to revisit the Friday Five in the fall of the week. So this week we are at week 11. So in week 11 in the fall, we will look back at the 5 games I picked in the summertime to see if those 5 games are still the games that I'm most interested in. Are we ready to go? Josh, here we go.
I've been waiting for this segment
5.
all week.
All right, number 5. I always say it every week. It's not a great schedule. It's hard to find 5 games.
I know. 5's tough.
Number 5.
Don't play into him, Nick. Don't be a capitulator.
5's tough. Come on.
Number 5, Tampa Bay, Buffalo. I think the Bucs probably the favorite in the division. Buffalo the favorite in the division. Anybody have a problem with that game?
Zero problem with that game, Mike. Tampa Bay is going to be in the mix. I like that game actually a lot. Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield against Josh Allen. I like that game. I think it could be too low, Mike. Could be too low.
We say no particular order. Just, as I went through the schedule, that one's the one that kind of stuck out to me first.
All right.
Because of where it's a 1 o'clock game, yada, yada, yada. All right, number 4, I should say. Number 4. We're going Chicago, Minnesota.
Oh. They're in Minnesota that game. That's also a 1 o'clock game. Those are actually 2 pretty good 1 o'clock games for the early window. I like that. I'll be in red zone. I'll be going back and forth. I know you don't like the back and forth.
I'm out on the red zone.
I know.
Number 3. We're going Kansas City, Denver.
Yeah, that's going to be a matchup.
Yep.
That's the matchup right there. Bo Nix, Pat Mahomes, Denver's defense. What does Kansas City look like next year? I think Denver's going to be a really good team.
Ooh.
I like Denver.
Now, Josh, you got any problems with any of these games yet?
No, I'm just glad you gave Tampa some recognition for once.
All right. Number 2 on the list. Number 1 on my list was the first one that brought me in. I put that in first. All right, this one is going to be this is a kind of a I'm going to go Seattle versus the Rams. Seattle versus the Rams as my number 2. Now, again, if I'm going to rank these in order, Seattle Rams would probably be 5. Tampa Buffalo would probably be 2. My number 1 is my number 1.
You're going nowhere.
Seattle Rams. You guys like that game?
A solid game. I think Kansas City and Denver, and that I think I would choose that game over the Seattle Rams game in the 4 o'clock window. That's a 4:05 game. Kansas City Denver's a 4:25 game.
Well, Earnshaw, you're going to be red zoning it all day anyway.
I know, so. I will. Well, the Eagles are 8:20 that night, so
exactly.
It's red zone from 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. till like 7:30 at night, and then we switch over to the Sunday night game.
Number 1, my favorite game of the Week 11 schedule. It is Cincinnati, Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough, though, because I like the Kansas City-Denver game. I feel like those 2, that's probably the top 2. I think Kansas City-Denver top 2, and then the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be it. So there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of other games even like under consideration. You have the Thursday night game that week is not great. It is Jets and Patriots.
Oh.
The Monday night game is Dallas Raiders. It was almost like they went to every single person that wore white New Balances with blue ends and said, all right, we got all the Dallas fans, and we're going to put you against the Raiders fans who haven't given up on them yet either. We'll put you both crappy teams on Monday night.
You roasting New Balances? I'm wearing New Balances right now.
Not the ones with the blue end, not the Schweiners.
Not the Schweiners.
Not
the old man Force.
Yeah, the old the Air Schweiners you're not wearing.
Yeah, no.
I don't have a problem with the New Balance. It's the one pair that people have given up on life.
The old man Force. Yeah. That's what I call them.
They're the Dallas fans.
Yeah. They are. So, you're calling Billy a Dallas fan now.
You might as well be.
Yeah.
That game's no good. So your primetime games aren't great. The Eagles are the other primetime game that week.
Right.
They play the Lions on Sunday night. You got Baltimore, Cleveland. You got San Fran, Arizona. I guess if Arizona is decent, you could put that one in the mix. You got Green Bay, Giants. You got Chargers, Jacksonville. You got Houston, Tennessee. Carolina, Atlanta. Washington, Miami. Not a great. I mean, Washington, Miami might be one that could possibly. Are you putting Washington, Miami in over any of the 5 I picked?
I'm not putting it in over any of them, but I definitely think they should have been like next in consideration just because.
Yeah, that would be my next one out. That was the first one bumped.
Because 2 reasons. One, remember, we talked about the stat many times. Washington beat one playoff team all last year.
Yes.
One. So now you're asking them to go across the ocean, to play a different place, a different time zone. I want to see what they're made of.
By the way, my parking session has been deactivated.
Oh, boy.
I gotta go. I gotta put more money in the meter.
You got to send Casey over there. Luckily, I found a spot, by the way, for our truck.
Yeah,
Found a spot.
There is a officer driving down Ventnor Avenue right now. Please don't ticket me. I am about to go pay the meter again. I will be out there momentarily. I need to take
Aren't
a
those meters
commercial
supposed to be
break before
virtual
I
now?
do it. I don't know if I can re-up from here. Can I?
I think, we do live in
There's
it's
supposed to be these
2025. I think you
apps.
should be able to do the app. Right on the app.
Oh,
you
I
just
don't
put
have
your
the
card.
app. So when I parked the car, I scanned the sign.
Oh.
So I did it that way because I don't want the app on my phone.
No app
Maybe
for
if I
Gil.
go to the email, I might be able to update it there.
Maybe. I mean, if
Yeah, you just don't want a ticket.
You paid online, right?
No, I paid through.
Well,
I think
usually
you scanned the
Park
QR
Mobile.
code, paid
I
it
scanned the
online,
QR code.
but doesn't
Right.
didn't sign up or anything.
Yeah,
like
I didn't
that.
sign in. I just was a guest.
Gotcha.
I got to re-up now. Got to
Now
go
you gotta-
scan it again.
Now I got to
That's what-
rescan
that's what-
it,
Yeah,
re-guessed it.
the whole 9, the whole shebang. That's what
Yeah.
you got to go out there and do.
All right. Well,
During the
I'll
next
have to-
commercial, we'll do it. You can't get a ticket out on
They only
remote.
let you do up to 2 hours. I mean, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to replenish.
Yeah,
this again.
this is a 4-hour radio show.
Yeah.
So
So I'm going to have to replenish this in a minute. All right. That's by week 11, Friday 5. They are the 5 games. Cincy, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Denver, Seattle, Rams, Kansas City, Denver, Bears, Minnesota, Tampa, Buffalo. They are the 5 this week.
I like that 5. I think Denver and Kansas City might be my favorite out of those 5.
All right, coming up next, it is our unsportsmanlike moment of the day here on the Sports Bash, live from Ventnor Social in Ventnor, 6217 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Stop out and see the show. The Lombardi Trophy's hanging out till 6. We're hanging out till 6. Stop on out and see us. All right, I'm going to go pay my meter.
All right, sounds good.
We'll
I'll be here.
back with the sportsmanlike moment of the day coming up next.
The only answer of anyone in my mind that could come close to surpassing Patrick Mahomes in rankings currently, not overall, not all time, not for a career, but literally playing out this season and then heading into next season, only one guy. If Jalen Hurts wins a second Super Bowl, gets back-to-back, and would have been in 3, he is the only person, to me, that could come close to surpassing Mahomes relative to a current in-the-moment rankings.
That is Evan Cohen on Unsportsmanlike. It's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day, brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for plumbing, heating, service, installation. Call 609-390-3907, online, broadlees.net. Evan Cohen laying the smackdown down. He said the only quarterback in the entire league that can surpass Patrick Mahomes on any list is Jalen Hurts if he wins another Super Bowl. That would give him 2 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl appearances, and basically become the new face of the quarterback position in the NFL. Is that too strong of a take by Evan Cohen? Everybody out there listening to a Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday live today here at Ventnor Social. You like that take or too strong?
I love it, Mike. I absolutely love it. I mean, I might have to do another appreciation nugget for Evan Cohen because I love that finally we're getting some good Jalen Hurts press right here. I mean, I've been talking about this for over 2 years about Jalen Hurts. If he got to another Super Bowl, I don't think I'd put him over Mahomes. But, I mean, he's right there with him now.
What if he won another Super Bowl?
Oh, you got to put him right there.
What if he won the Super Bowl and was Super Bowl MVP again?
I mean,
he's only 27 years old. You would think he has at least 5, 6, maybe 7 more legit shots in his prime years. You would think up until what, like 33, 34 years old, that he probably can still play at a pretty, MVP level.
Yeah, I put him right there with Mahomes. If he won another Super Bowl, won an MVP, yes, he has to be right there. And he can't be outside the top 5 of anybody's list anymore. If he got to another Super Bowl, won it, added another MVP to his resume in the Super Bowl, I mean, you have to put him right there. I don't think that's too strong from Evan Cohen because Hurts is in the prime of his career right now. And all the guy has done is proven everybody wrong every single time, and he wins football games. He wins games, and that's all that matters in the NFL. And by the way,
this is why I don't care about these lists.
I know.
People get so upset like you.
I'm not getting upset about the list. I'm not getting upset about the list right now.
You generally get upset about the list.
Yeah, but I made a proclamation on Nuggets the other day. I said I'm not going to get upset about lists anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you were there. We were talking about it.
Really?
You were there.
Oh, really? I know that. I'm saying, oh, really? I'll believe it when I see it.
I'm not. No lists. I haven't gotten upset on a list since then. Now, if he were, I will say this: if he won another Super Bowl, added another Super Bowl MVP, I'd be very upset if he's not top 2 on everybody's list. Then I can start getting mad at lists again. All right?
Yeah, I mean,
then I'll start getting mad at lists.
If it got to the point where, look, I don't know what it will take for Hurts to win people over. Like
I don't know
the
either.
national people. I do think people like Evan Cohen obviously appreciates Hurts,
Yes.
but he also, says, hey, he's not above Burrow. Well, actually, he did kind of say Burrow got them to a Super Bowl, but he doesn't have something that Jalen Hurts does have.
I think he should be right around the 5 or 6 mark on any list at this point. Like Lamar, Josh Allen, those guys haven't won Super Bowls, but they've won MVPs. They've gotten that type of recognition. Jalen Hurts just wins games. And by the way, didn't Tom Brady have good defenses too? I'm not comparing him to the GOAT, but I'm just saying Tom Brady had great defenses. Jalen Hurts had a good defense. He shouldn't be penalized for having good pieces around him.
No,
I don't think that's fair.
The pieces around you argument to me is a weak sauce because there are players, Deshaun Watson is one of them, who had talent around him with the Cleveland Browns, and that team stunk because of him.
Yeah. So if Jalen Hurts wasn't a good quarterback, the Eagles could have all these weapons and they could still not get to a Super Bowl and not win a Super Bowl. So I don't think it's fair.
Cole from LBI has a take. Is it a hot take? He says, I don't know how you can expect Hurts prime to go until 35. I think I said 34, by the way, was the cutoff. I said like
6 or 7 years.
34 years
He's 27
old.
now.
He said he's not a great passer. He's had an ankle injury away from being a bottom third quarterback. Now his current skill set makes him QB 4 through 7 currently, but his whole convo is ridiculous. This whole convo is ridiculous. Now,
That whole comment from Cole was ridiculous.
yeah, Cole, you're usually a pretty steady Eddie guy. I don't like those. I mean, I disagree with him being not a great. Okay,
They let him
is
throw in
not
the
a
Super
great
Bowl, and what
passer,
happened?
Fair or unfair?
That's unfair. I think he's a great passer.
Phil and Brigantine. Mike, Hurts potentially in Canton one day. Your thoughts? I would say potentially if he continues. I think Hurts, I said this with Mosher the other day, and Mosher said it with me the other day. He is giving me the Troy Aikman vibes, where he's the trigger man for the Super Bowl championship team with not Hall of Fame numbers, but him being a part of those great teams is giving him the Hall of Fame consideration. So, Phil, potentially in Canton one day as a winner, more so than a stat compiler.
Sure. And by the way, Jalen Hurts also has a running aspect to him, okay? He has a play that is unstoppable. That's Hall of Fame
But
in
that-
itself. He's part of that play.
But Nick, that's also why
Which is
people.
what Hugh Myers told us on the show the other day.
But that's why it's a deterrent against him, because people are saying, "See, all you do is run. See, all you do is tush push." That has become a weapon to use against him.
But here's also something I think that he doesn't get enough credit for and the rub for, which we've talked about a lot, is how important he is to the Eagles' run game. For Saquon Barkley to get 2,000 yards, does he get a little bit of the rub for, hey, this guy was the quarterback of a team that had a 2,000-yard rusher, and that guy was a 2,000-yard rusher in large part because of Jalen Hurts' role in the offense?
I think for people,
You know what I'm saying on that,
Yeah,
though?
I understand what you're saying. I think for people, they are looking at a prototypical quarterback that would throw for 5,000 yards, like the Drew Brees of the world, the Tom Brady's, etc. He is not your prototypical passer. He is the current version of what makes a great quarterback. He can run and he can throw. And for the people who said he can't throw, they let him throw in all the big games. And they took away Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, I mean,
they didn't need him, and
yeah.
they blew him out.
Like,
so
I don't
what are
think
we
he's going
doing?
to be a 4,000-yard passer. When I
Doesn't
say,
need
like,
to be.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking about when you talk about Hall of Fame numbers. He's not going to be like 4,000 yards,
No.
35 passing touchdowns, like those numbers is
But
what I'm talking about.
in this era of quarterback, he has fantastic numbers. In this era where you have a dual threat type of quarterback that can run it, that can throw it, I think he's been fantastic, and he's on that trajectory. For this era of quarterback, he's on a Canton trajectory right now.
I would agree, but not numerically.
Not in the passing numbers, no.
Right, like I'm not saying his numbers are
Fine.
bad. I'm just saying, like, when you think of a Hall of Fame level
Right.
quarterback, you're thinking the guy who's like 4,000-yard passer, 30-plus
Right.
touchdowns. His touchdown numbers are not going to be – he's not going to throw 30 touchdown passes.
Because he's running them in. That's
He's
why.
running them in, exactly. So his total touchdowns will be over 30, but his passing numbers, he's not going to throw for – I think he threw for like 3,700 yards. This is probably his height was about 30 – somewhere in that range, 3,700 yards. So he's not a 4,000-yard passer. He's not a 30-touchdown kind of guy. But his numbers are still solid.
2,900 yards last year.
Yeah, under 3,000 yards passing last year for Hurts. Football at 4 on the way.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We know that next week at this time, the Eagles will have been on the practice field all week long for the most part. They report on Tuesday. They practice Wednesday and Thursday. And, of course, right now, Football at 4 takes a look at all the big storylines heading into camp, which begins next week. Andrew DeCecco is in today for Adam Kaplan for today's Football at 4, and he has a plethora of great stuff over at InsideTheBirds.com to get you ready for Eagles training camp. We're going to preview all of the top storylines and battles that he'll be watching as training camp opens on Tuesday with practice on Wednesday. Andrew DeCecco, Football at 4. What is going on, my friend? How are you?
How you doing, Mike? Good to talk to you.
Yeah, man, this time next week, the Birds will be probably just coming off the practice field. I think they're off Friday, actually, but 10 o'clock practices next week. Let's get into some of the big storylines that, Andrew, you'll be watching, all the battles. And let's start with that right guard spot. Tyler Steen taking on Kenyon Green, taking on Matt Pryor. That's like the one story on the offensive side of the ball for starting playing time that everyone's going to be kind of watching as we enter training camp next week. How do you handicap those three?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Tyler Steen, and he played 316 snaps last season for the Eagles, entering his third season. This is really do or die for him this year. And what I mean by that is he had a chance last year, and he had the ankle injury, and Mekhi Becton was able to overtake him. Now he has a golden opportunity. He is the favorite behind him that are going to really realistically be pushing him. Yeah, you have Kenyon Green, and I think Matt Pryor would be the biggest challenger. But I thought Steen did a nice job last year. I really did when he was pressed into service mid-game. That requires a lot of attention to detail and focus from the sideline, and also applying what you're learning on the practice field. He moves well, better than Becton, and I think that when you're pairing somebody between Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson, you can kind of atone for any sort of shortcomings or acclimation period.
I kind of look at this, see if you're on the same page at all, or am I way off base on this one, Andrew. I look at this similar to 2017, where basically Sayamala started. He was the guy they wanted. Steen is the Sayamala. They went to Warmack, tried to see if he could do it. Green would be the Warmack, and in the end, they said, we have Pryor in our back pocket. That would be Wisniewski. So it wouldn't be crazy to suggest that we might see all three of these guys get a shot at some point this year.
I mean, barring injury, I'm expecting Tyler Steen to be that guy. Obviously, the sample size is pretty small, but talking to Tyler last season and really being able to see him in the preseason and really even in the regular season, that Saints game really stands out to me as the best sort of description as to what he can do. It really illustrates, I should say, what he can do. He moves well, and then that Saints game, it was like him and Fred Johnson on one side of the field, and the offense didn't really miss a beat. You can look at certain moments throughout the season where I thought that he was able to step in and really acquit himself pretty well. So I'm not necessarily looking at it as a platoon situation.
I would tend to agree with you in terms of I think Steen is fine. I think Steen will win the job. But that it just kind of seems similar the way that these guys profile, that they have that in their back pocket. We'll see that right guard spot. It will be one of the big stories on the offensive side of the ball. Before I shift to the defense, because it seems that that's where all the stories seem to be, is there another offensive battle that is a battle, or is the offense pretty set after that right guard spot to you?
So it's interesting because this is a minor one, but something I'll be keeping an eye on because I like watching training camp battles unfold, and I know a lot about these players. So it would be wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5, or maybe even wide receiver 6, because beyond A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson, there's a lot of questions, right? Johnny Wilson would appear to be the favorite. He was the number 4 wide receiver last year. He played 369 snaps, 34% of the defensive snaps, and he's somebody who does a lot of the dirty work, the grimy work that Zach Pascal did in 22, that Olamide Zaccheaus did in 2023. It takes a certain type of mindset to be able to pull that off. He also has a unique dimensions, right? He offers 6'7", crazy, athletic profile, and then the wingspan and all of that. But for me, I think that his name should be written in pencil at the moment because they want to see what he can get operate with more regularity, be able to help and factor in contested catch situations, and really take that next step and evolve in his second season.
Yeah.
But then you have Anais Smith. Anais Smith is a predominant slot player. So if he's going to stick or at least make a serious run for a roster spot, one would think that he's going to have to showcase a lot as a punt returner to show that value and really trying to establish that staying power. And then, of course, you have Danny Gray, who I've talked a ton about, and 4.33 speed, so he adds a different element than any of the players who we're going to be sort of chronicling here. He can get vertical, former third-round pick, and he was on the practice squad last year, so obviously familiarity with the system, with wide receivers coach Aaron Moorhead. And the last player that I'll mention is Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall has a bigger body, not quite to the degree of a Johnny Wilson, not many receivers do, but he can kind of do similar things. And I thought he had a really good spring, definitely more so than Johnny Wilson, who missed some time during the spring, at least for the media-attended session. So I'm kind of looking to see at Mike how that all transpires.
And Andrew DeCecco, Football at 4. These are some of the top general eve of training camp things and storylines that Andrew and everyone will be watching. He'll be covering it live from the NovaCare complex. Ringo versus Jackson, is that the battle? Is there anybody else in that battle? Handicap that one as you enter camp next week.
No, that's going to be primarily Kiwi Ringo versus Adoree Jackson, and Kiwi Ringo enters with as the odds-on favorite. He has the inside track, entering his third season with the Eagles and second season in a row working with Vic Fangio, Christian Parker, the Eagles defensive backs coach, Roy Anderson, the cornerbacks coach. He liked the continuity there. And Keeley in the spring talked about honing in on his technique, which really, raised my antenna because it's never been about the athleticism with Keeley Ringo. It's always been about the technique. And he's such a young player. I think folks forget that he's just 22 years old. So if he's able to put this together, the Eagles could really have something there. Now, the problem is, or I should say the biggest question, Mike, is how would he handle being targeted heavily each and every week? Because teams aren't going to throw the football to Quinyon Mitchell's side of the field. And so it puts a unique amount of pressure on Keeley Ringo to make sure that he's staying assignment sound. And what we've learned from Vic Fangio is that's what he prioritizes and covets from his defensive players. So that's going to go a long way, obviously, in determining who starts between Adoree Jackson and Keeley Ringo. Adoree Jackson has played in 97 games, I believe, in the NFL. So I think you like that experience, but I think Keeley Ringo, knowing how much time and effort and really just manpower the Eagles have invested in him, I think that obviously he would be the favorite.
All right, Andrew, I think this one's going to be fun. It will be to see the evolution of Jalix Hunt, and then he will be trying to hold off two veteran players who were once the young guys that people were excited about. Not old guys by any stretch, but Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche. How do you see that triangle happening and working out as camp begins?
Well, Jalix Hunt is going to start for all, by all accounts. Something would have to go, drastically wrong for that not to happen. But the question becomes, this is a player who played 241 regular season snaps. What's he going to look like in an expanded role? Now, you know me. We've talked a lot about this. I think very highly of Jalix. I think he's going to transition to a starting role pretty favorably, but that's just my assumption based off of what the information that we have. And the information that we have is a player who factored into the rotation eventually about halfway through the season. He made an impact in the postseason. I thought he got active and was willing against the run. So you see a lot of the qualities that suggest that it can translate into a much more prominent role. And he was asked to add weight to his frame this year, and he's been throwing around weight that he wasn't throwing around last season. I sat down with his trainer, Corey Clark. So all the signs are there. But then you look at Ojulari, who I think can be a really good third edge, edge player, and he's going to be obviously needed in this rotation, but he's got to be able to stay healthy. That's been the big hiccup with him. It's never been about ability. It's been about availability. 22 career sacks, 25 years old, obviously has a lot of familiarity with his teammates there. So I think you feel pretty good about at least where he stands as the third edge rusher. And then the question becomes, Josh Uche, what do you have there? Because it's kind of a polarizing player. You have to go back to the 2022 season where he had 11.5 sacks. Of course, the last two seasons where he split time with the Patriots and the Chiefs, he had 5 sacks. So which version are you getting? And he's clearly a situational player. The year in which he had 11.5 sacks, he played 38% of their snaps for the Patriots. So I think as a fourth edge rusher, he'll be just fine.
The next question, and I don't even know how we answer this, so I'm interested to see what you bring to the table here, Andrew. Jahad Campbell versus who? What's his role? Will he be ready? What are you looking to see from him? Will he even be out on the field on Wednesday? Give us some thoughts on Campbell and how this kind of materializes.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. I'm expecting him to be around on Wednesday on the field. Participating? Well, no. I mean, Vic Fangio said sometime in August, so I think they're not going to rush his timetable. They want him to be operating at, peak levels. But what you see from him is just a player who I think has a skill set that embodies what it means to be the new age NFL defender. He has the length, he has the fluidity, the sideline to sideline range. He can cover tight ends and running backs and all those things that you look for. And he also can rush the passer a little bit, which may be his easiest path to playing time because there's a lot of responsibilities that I don't think are fully appreciated that are placed on the shoulders of linebackers in Vic Fangio's system. And because of that, it may take a little bit of time to acclimate, especially if you're joining late and you're behind the eight ball a little bit. The player that I think is going to reap the benefits most is Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who the Eagles are really happy with his development, and smart player, instinctual, doesn't have the measurables, but I think he's very sound, assignment sound. And Vic Fangio has praised him going into that divisional round playoff game, and so that carries a lot of weight. So I think he would be the next in line. They don't have a lot of optionality there. That's really a place that I thought the Eagles were going to address before training camp, just to simply add another body before camp. Smile Mondin is there, the rookie linebacker from Georgia, but he's mostly, in my opinion, going to be a special teamer this year. So, yeah, I think to answer that question, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. would be the player to highlight there.
All right, Andrew, the last one would be Drew Makuba, the second-round pick, obviously, at the safety position against basically Sidney Brown. And is there anybody else in that room? I guess that one is, would you say, wide open, or do you have a favorite? Handicap that one.
Vic Fangio also threw in Tristan McCollum. He threw his name into the mix. But to be honest with you, I don't view it as totally wide open. It's going to be a competition. And Drew Makuba, the rookie, has to get into camp. He has to sign first. But, you don't draft somebody in the second round unless they have a hard time picking up the defense. You don't draft them where you draft them and have him sit on the bench. He has an ability and a skill set and a body type that kind of reminds me a little bit of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And he has a knack for taking away the football, versatile, instinctive, all the qualities that Vic Fangio looks for in a defensive back in his system. Doesn't have the biggest frame. He doesn't have a lot of size, but he does play with some physicality. Versus Sidney Brown, who is a player who hasn't really gotten much of a fair shake. He got injured at the end of his rookie year, didn't have a full off season, and now he does. But he is probably going to have to alter the way he plays the game to coincide with the way that Vic Fangio likes his defensive backs to play. He's sometimes plays unrestrained. He's primarily a box safety anyway, but he plays with his hair on fire, and sometimes that leads to feast or famine play. And for him to have confidence in him to go out there and execute the assignments, he's going to have to be a little bit more assignment sound, a little bit more disciplined on the field. And then Tristan McCollum is a player who I've talked a lot about. He is assignment sound. He does play within the structure of the defense, and he quietly he makes plays. He's more often than not in the right place at the right time, and there's something to be said for that.
Andrew, of all the things we just talked about, is there something else, the thing that you are most intrigued by when Wednesday comes around?
I kind of want to see if the running backs are going to be more involved in the passing game, right? Because that's just the first thing that popped in mind. The reason why I say I'm not looking to see the offense as a whole is because sometimes you can't glean that in training camp. Oftentimes you can't. In the preseason, you can't either. We won't really know what the offense as a whole looks like until the regular season. But the running backs, when you talk about evolve, and you heard that word, that was the buzzword in the spring. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean something drastic one way or the other, but it could mean some different wrinkles. And different wrinkles, utilization of the middle of the field with someone like a Dallas Goedert, maybe Jahan Dotson, running backs in the passing game. This, for me, is something I'm looking forward to seeing because Jalen Hurts hasn't utilized the running backs in the passing game. And you have someone like Saquon Barkley, who we saw catch that wheel route against the Packers in week 1. He obviously can do it and do it at a high level. Will Shipley is the guy for me who can add a different dimension, a unique dimension to the offense, because while Kenny Gainwell was very adept at catching passes, Will Shipley is explosive. He brings a lot of juice, and he turns upfield when he gets the football, and you can probably move him around formations and feel pretty comfortable in doing so. So that's what I'm looking to see. How are they going to utilize the running backs as it pertains to the passing game?
It all starts next week, and, of course, the guys from Inside the Birds will have plenty of coverage on InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast, and right here on Football at 4. Andrew DeCecco pinch hitting today for Adam Kaplan on a Happy Hour Friday, giving you all the things to look for at next week Eagles camp. All right, Andrew, appreciate you as always, pal. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mike. You as well.
There's Andrew DeCecco, everybody, here on a Football at 4 Happy Hour Friday, live today from Ventnor Social. We are out and about. You can, speaking of Eagles, the Lombardi Trophy is here at Ventnor Social. If you're driving around the area and you want to get your picture taken, we are here till 6 o'clock tonight. The trophy is here. It's a great spot. The Saquon Barkley mural on the wall is one of the most unique settings in any South Jersey bar location, restaurant location. You can get your picture taken with the Lombardi Trophy, the Saquon Barkley wall, which is just an awesome, awesome spot and location here in Ventnor. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. Join the fun on DraftKings Casino, ranked the #1 online casino experience. They've got everything you've been searching for, thousands of exciting games, huge jackpots, exclusive offers, and more. New players get a 10-day welcome offer, 500 spins on Huff and More Puff when you play just $5 to start. Download the DraftKings Casino app, sign up with code DK973, and spin your favorite slots. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Physically present in New Jersey. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Non-withdrawable casino spins issued as 50 spins per day for 10 days. Valid for featured game only and expire each day after 24 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. It ends on August 24th of this year at 11:59 p.m. in the East. #1 based on Eilers and Krychek 2 H24 product analysis. All right, when we come back, Earnshaw's in the house. We got the Nuggets live on location right here at Ventnor Social on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, 425 Sports Bash is live today at Ventnor Social. Yeah, we've had a good crowd, good turnout, good people stopping by, saying hello. We're here till 6. Lombardi Trophy's here. You want to stop out and see it, get a picture taken, you could do that too. A lot of Eagles fans in the house. So a lot of Eagle jerseys, a lot of Eagle people. It's great to see the Eagle jerseys popping down the street in a July hot day like this, right?
Oh, nothing better. Mid-July, seeing the Kelly Greens out and about, it's the best. Nothing better.
Time for the Nuggets. They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is my on-site producer today, so he's sitting right here with me for today's edition of Nick's Nuggets.
All right, here we go. We got to get into the Nuggets. It's a fun Philly Friday, Mr. Mike Gill, and we got Phillies back in action. Eagles getting their Super Bowl rings today. That's going to be exciting. And then we got Sixers Summer League. VJ Edgecombe should never play in the Summer League ever again. No Sixers first-round pick should ever play in the Summer League ever again. But we're going to start with the Philadelphia Phillies, and we've been talking a lot about the trade deadline ad nauseum throughout the show today and throughout the last couple of weeks, and Nuggets just keep flying around. And Jason Stark was on foul territory with a former Philly, Eric Kratz, and he dropped a massive nugget as to what Dave Dombrowski...
That could have gone a lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah. As to what the Phillies could do at the deadline. Take a listen to Jason Stark.
He has this sense about his team that with the right move or moves, they can win the World Series, that everybody else is beatable, their team too, but they have that team that nobody wants to play because of their pitching, right? And I ran into a guy in Atlanta who has talked to Dave, and he said he thinks Dave is geared up to do something huge. He's got his prospect chips ready to go. And look, his ideal trade is not going to happen. His ideal trade is the Twins for Byron Buxton and Johan Duran. That's not going to happen. The Twins aren't going to do that. But that's what I think Dave would do in an ideal world. Give up a ton of prospects for a big bat, a huge arm, and two guys he can control beyond this year.
So, Mr. Mike Gill, that tells us a lot. And Jason Stark, one of the best. He talked to a guy. He knew a guy down there in Atlanta during the All-Star game that has spoken to Dave Dombrowski. He's ready to put all the chips in to go for it this year. The quote being, geared up to do something huge.
I feel like, though, that I've heard this this is people.
Is that a smoke screen?
Well, no, this is what I think. They are projecting what they are projecting what Dave Dombrowski has done in his past, which he's been known to make big moves and trade prospects. That has not happened here. So I think people are like, whoa, every time you hear somebody talk, it's like, Dave Dombrowski, he's always the guy who makes the big move. I haven't seen him make one big move since he's been here.
Neither have I.
So we keep hearing it every year at the deadline. Well, Dave Dombrowski, he likes to make the big move. Oh, Dave, he's not afraid to pull the trigger. He hasn't done it here. So I'm not saying he won't, but I think when people make these comments, like the guy in Atlanta telling Jason Stark, what is he had these prospects sitting in an incubator and now they're ready to hatch? Like, they've had these prospects. He's had the chance to make these moves and decisions. Now they're actually close enough to get to the big leagues to help you, and now you're saying, you know what, I might move them. That's why I think it's a weird spot to be in.
It is a weird spot to be in, but when you have a guy like Aiden Miller, when you have a guy like Andrew Painter, we have heard multiple times that they're untouchable. Those are the guys they don't want to move. They'll move McAble, they'll move Eduardo Tait, they'll move all these other prospects. But we have to remember, the Phillies prospects are very top-heavy. That MLB pipeline is completely top-heavy. So I think this is a big report if it is true that Dave Dombrowski is gearing up to do something big. To me, that says they're ready to trade Andrew Painter and Aiden Miller. That's what that says to me, that they're willing to go all in, get a controllable bat, a controllable arm out of the bullpen, and they're willing to give up all those prospects. They're willing to move on. Who cares? They'll replenish the farm system at some other time. I think that means that Painter and Miller are available, and they're free game now.
This is what I would say, okay? I think Andrew Painter has to be as close to untouchable as possible. The only move that I think you can think about is if you were able, and I don't think these trades are on the table, so that's not going to happen, but if the A's said, we'll give you Miller and we'll give you Rooker, we want
Yes.
Painter. I think you have to say, you know what? I have enough pitching. I have a good enough team right now. Rooker bats fourth. He fits this lineup. He's exactly what we need. He's on a controllable
Just
deal.
signed an extension in the offseason.
And you've got Mason Miller, who is exactly what this team lacks, a pitcher at the back end of the bullpen, who, by the way, is not having a great year, by the way, numerically. And I will say and caution people this with Mason Miller. He's got great fastball. He's got great stuff. He's never pitched in any high-leverage moment in his entire career. He's pitching in a AAA ballpark. He's got no high-leverage spot. Now, I'm not saying that he stinks. He obviously has great stuff. But we have no idea whether he could come over here into the middle of a pennant race, and all of a sudden his ERA right now, 4.04, his whip is very good, his strikeouts per nine are very good. He's obviously an awesome pitcher. But as I told you last year with Carlos Estevez, his numbers were awesome last year in Anaheim. It's different when you're pitching in Philadelphia or New York in October than pitching in Sacramento in April.
But I will throw this at you. Do you trust anyone in the bullpen right now? I would trust Miller over anyone in the bullpen right now.
No, I am not. I would 100% agree with that. I would take Mason Miller here in 2 heartbeats of a second. My point is, it's no guarantee. That's why people have a hard time when you make a trade at the deadline. You're generally trading with a bad team.
Yeah.
And you're taking a bad team's good player and now putting him into the middle of a pennant race. How many times does that actually how many times that actually lead to that good player from the bad team comes over and helps the good team win?
I understand. But you have to make a swing because you have issues. These aren't just we're patching a hole here. We're upgrading at this spot. The right-handed bat situation and the bullpen are awful. Awful. Your outfield, left field, and center field have been abysmal. It's not like any upgrade. This would be a massive upgrade as to what they currently have.
This is the state of the Philly fan right now, okay? One text message says, just don't trade Aiden Miller. He's the one guy you can't trade. Next text message. Why are we acting like Aiden Miller is some big prospect?
It's one or the other.
Listen, this is what prospects are.
Yeah.
With he could be hitting 380 and everyone would be going crazy. He's hitting 230, so people are backing off of him. But the scouts would say Aiden Miller is a guy. Right now, he's one of the top 50 prospects ranked in all of baseball. But this is why I go back to he's hitting 230. But you take these numbers. You don't put a lot of stock in minor league numbers. You look at the skill set.
AAA specifically.
Well, especially, Andrew Painter's numbers are not great. Are you going to tell me he sucks? Because his numbers would say he stinks.
This year,
if you look at his AAA numbers and you said, what do you think of this guy? Just look at the back of his card. Well, his ERA is it's over 5, right?
I think it's over 4 at this point.
Last time I looked, I think he was 5.01, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Whatever. If it's in the 4s or 5s,
you're
telling me a guy with an ERA in the 4s or 5s is going to be the next big pitching prospect? Absolutely not. That's why you put it. You take AAA numbers with a grain of salt. You don't put a lot of stock in those numbers, but you can see that Andrew Painter has unbelievable stuff. And one of the reasons why his numbers are what they are, his command is just not where he wants it to be coming off of the Tommy John surgery. Aiden Miller, you would say, okay, he's hitting 230. What am I supposed to make of that? What do I make of the fact that Aiden Miller's hitting 230? I'm being told by scouts he's a tremendous prospect.
They likened him to Mike Schmidt, for goodness sake. So I think that's an interesting quote because Rooker and Miller would solve both your issues right there. And the A's are 11 games out. They're both controllable. And by the way, Mason Miller, there's been talk, speculation from other teams out there and rumors that they would trade for Mason Miller and also turn him into a starting pitcher, too, down the line. That's also another aspect to this. So if you were to trade Painter, maybe you turn Mason Miller into another starting pitcher. You could do that, too.
The Phillies don't have a problem with the starting rotation. They actually have an excess of starting pitchers, which is why you can think about moving a guy like Andrew Painter if you think that, hey, listen, next year I have Wheeler, I've got Nola. I know those 2 guys are signed, locked up, and are going to be back next year. I've got Sanchez. He is signed. I've got Luzardo. That's 4 guys right there. Then you have, obviously, the whole Ranger Suarez thing. What's going to happen with him next? You have Mick Abel. So if you trade Painter, you still have Abel to turn back to. Now, I'm not going to say Mick Abel's going to turn into, some all-star pitcher, but as the 5th guy in your rotation, you would think that he would be serviceable. Now, you would say, I don't want a serviceable guy. I want a top-of-the-rotation guy. Okay, then you don't trade Painter. But then you're not getting the player back in return that could really impactfully help this team.
If you got the offer from the the Athletics, sorry, I was going to say Oakland because I'm so used to them being in Oakland. If you got Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, Mick Abel, Rojas for Rooker, Miller, and another prospect, would you do it?
Say that again?
If you had to give up Miller, Crawford, Abel.
Miller, Crawford, Abel.
And Rojas.
Oh, Rojas is insignificant. Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm adding him in there.
Yeah, he's insignificant.
It's a good one. All right. You throw in Miller, Rooker, and another lower-level prospect.
I would do that deal.
I would do that deal in a heartbeat.
Here's the thing with Miller right now, and Aiden Miller. I've actually never seen the kid play. I've seen a couple highlights of him. Numerically, you would say he's hitting 230. That doesn't bother me all that much. The one thing for him so far that has been bothersome is not showing any power. And you're looking for a right-handed bat that can hit in the middle of the lineup, and he's another guy that right now, I don't know what his power projects to be at the big league level. As you said, many people have said this is a better prospect than Mike Schmidt was. I don't know if I'm about ready to go there, but can he hit 20 home runs? Can he hit 25 home runs? Is he a guy like that? Or is he another Justin Crawford? Now, he's got more power than Justin Crawford, but are you looking at another guy who is a high-on-base speed? Is that what he's known for more than anything? And you would say, now, it's interesting. I heard an interesting I was listening to a podcast last night about this. Very interesting conversation about how the bubble of baseball is kind of bursting right now and changing back to manufacturing runs, speed, small ball, that era of the launch angle, the home runs, that you're starting to see that kind of change a little bit. And the bubble is kind of bursting on, and it's reverting back to more small ball stuff. So, then does Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford fit better? Everyone's looking for home runs, and baseball's saying, no more home runs. We want small ball. I don't know about that.
But if you're Dave Dombrowski, I mean, you have now two controllable guys you get back. I would prefer that over, waiting on these prospects to see, all right, let's wait for them to develop, etc. Your window's now. I would do that deal in a heartbeat. If you have to give up a couple of those top prospects in your top five, I would give up 3 of the top 5 prospects in the Phillies organization to try and get Miller and Brent Rooker, because that solves so many issues. Now, defensively, who cares about Rooker? You put him in left, you put Marsh or Rojas in center field, you just solved a big problem, and that's protection in your lineup, too, in the middle of the order, and then you have Mason Miller on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of prospects who struggled out of the gates, and then, again, anybody who puts any stock into minor league numbers obviously has been fed a bill of goods. You talk to anybody around baseball, they don't put stock in those numbers. I mean, if you're telling me the Phillies are discouraged by Aiden Miller hitting 230, they don't really care.
No.
They just want to see.
They see the intangibles.
Right,
there.
Exactly. So the batting average to them right now is, I've talked to many people who covered the Reading Phillies.
The R-Phils.
The R-Phils, and the scouts up there who watch him, and very few, if any, that I can even recall off the top of my head here in talking about Miller have given me any negative thoughts. Because you just say, well, why is he hitting 230? Yeah, he's had a lot of bad luck. Ball off his bat, still coming off very good. All those things. It's just kind of sad in today's game that's more important. What's the exit velo? How hard is he hitting the ball?
Right.
What's the ball coming off? They don't look at your number and actually say 230. That's a problem. No, they say, the lot of bad luck. Ball, he's hitting the ball hard, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all of that type of stuff. And listen, I think for the Phillies, this is the year, right? And you mentioned in the beginning of the Nugget that Dave Dombrowski is known throughout his career to go and give up prospects to get the big name at the deadline or in the offseason to go for it, right? He hasn't done it in Philadelphia. Well, maybe this is the year he actually does it, because you can just feel the window closing on guys hitting their 30s, contracts ending. This is it, and you have the pitching staff to do it. So if you got to give up a couple of prospects to go get guys who are young, Mason Miller's young, Brent Rooker is relatively young. He's having a really good career as of now since he joined the Athletics. I think you got to do it. You got to take a swing for it.
I'm very intrigued to see what level he's willing to go this time around. Because, again, we've heard so much about them over the years that Dombrowski will pull the trigger. That's what he's known for. Haven't seen it here, right? Haven't seen it here.
I've
but
not seen it here.
Real quick on Miller's numbers, 69 games. He's hitting 234, but his on-base percentage is almost 360, 354 on-base percentage. Slugging trend is 379, which is not, it's not great. His OPS is not great either. But his on-base percentage, that's been the one number that people said, look, he's still getting on base. He's still finding ways to get on base. And he's got 34 stolen bases this year. And that goes back to he's on base. He steals a lot of bases. He hits the ball kind of hard. So that's what a lot of people have told me about Miller as to don't get discouraged by his batting average. So if you're somebody out there that's wondering, well, why, Miller, 234, you got to trade him. You got to get rid of him. A lot of the scouts will kind of tell you that his on-base percentage, his speed, and all this stuff, he's hitting the ball hard. And so that's why the Phillies, I think, are conflicted here.
Yeah, I mean, I would be conflicted, too, with where they're at and, with guys' contracts ending, hitting their 30s. Like, yeah, I'd feel the same way. But I can't – if you have the opportunity to go get a power bat like that in Rooker and Miller and kill two birds with one stone, I think you got to go for it, pull the trigger. Make the trade, Dave. Make the trade.
Rooker would be a very, very – very good fit for this team.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Listen, 2 years in a row. I'm going to call for it again. All right. Nugget number 2. Mike, I don't know if you saw this morning. I think I showed it to you. But the MLB All-Star Game for next year has been announced. And if you're watching us on YouTube, on the X platform, we have the All-Star Game logo for Philadelphia. It has been unveiled, Mr. Mike Gill. Philadelphia has the All-Star Game next season at Citizens Bank Park. Listen, they tend to use the bell every single time they use the logo, but today was the unveiling of everything going on. Next year, the All-Star Game logo, it's a star with the Liberty Bell right behind it. Philadelphia 2026. Mike, I mean, there's no way we got to go. We got to go. As a station, we all got to go to the Derby, to the All-Star Game. Hopefully they change the rules of the Home Run Derby. But, man, this just gets you excited that it's going to be in Philadelphia next year.
Yeah, I think, listen, I'm not all that interested in the All-Star Game, that kind of stuff, but I think I will have to actually be there because, you're looking at the energy. And I said before, I think, what the baseball did by putting Mizorowski in after 5 games was kind of a joke in terms of they've changed this thing. I don't have a problem with seeing the best players. Like Mizorowski, I had no problem with him getting put into the game. I don't like the fact that baseball has turned the game now into more of a – kind of a sideshow, like a marketing tool.
Yeah.
That part of it kind of, to me, is like, yeah, you've made the game kind of a sideshow.
Right. I mean, guys leaving early this year. I mean, Ohtani was leaving early. Judge was leaving early. Schwarber stuck around. And guess what? He was an All-Star MVP. And that brings me to this. Is he going to stick around for the game in Philadelphia as a Philadelphia Philly next year? How awful would it be if they let Schwarber walk? He has his massive second half, too. He gets paid. He goes to the Reds. We talked about it on the Nuggets the other day. He comes back in a Reds uniform. Oh, they got to sign him. They have to sign Kyle Schwarber because that's another reason. You got to have him in the All-Star Game at home next year. So you got to have Schwarber, and I think Harper's got to do the Derby next year too. I think it would be criminal if Harper didn't do it next year.
I think they'll be asked, no question about it. I think you'll say to Schwarber, hey, you want to be a part of the game in Philadelphia? They both probably, Harper as well, would be asked. I would agree with you.
But Schwarber, is he going to be a Philly or is he going to be somewhere else in a different uniform?
That would be tough if he played for somebody else. Would he
back?
get booed?
I guess it depends how he goes out.
Well, if he signs with another team.
What if the Phillies don't offer him? What if the Phillies lowball him?
I don't
Do you
know.
boo him then? I wouldn't. If the Phillies were,
I don't boo anything.
I know you're not a booer.
No.
I'm a booer.
I
wouldn't boo
up.
Schwarber though.
I don't get worked out about this stuff. Listen, you do. You ask people questions. You get answers. I say to a scout, "Hey, what do you think of this?" They give me an answer. You don't like the answer from the scout? Don't yell at me. Like you don't.
No, but no. If Kyle Schwarber came back, I don't think he'd get booed. I don't, because he was so good.
I don't either. I don't think Schwarber, unless the Phillies made him an offer and he made it and had 2 offers on the table, very similar, and decided to go to the other spot.
I think it would be more cheers than boos.
Yeah.
In that case, but I wouldn't boo Schwarber at all. Now going back to the boo thing. Now you threw me off because you wouldn't boo anybody, not even Jerry Jones. You're not booing Jerry Jones. You see him at the game,
dude.
He's in there, the opener. You're not booing him.
How long have you known me?
for a couple of years
Do
now.
you
For like
think
4 years.
anything really bothers me all that
No.
much?
I get worked up. See, I get worked up at lists. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be more like you, Mike, and not get worked up on lists, the booing.
You can't let this stuff bother you, man.
It grinds my gears. It grinds my gears to no end.
It's all fun, man. It's all sports. It's a release. You got to treat sports as a release.
It is.
You can certainly have moments where you can be critical of things, no question about it.
And
but
there's
Jerry Jones doesn't do enough for me to make me want to boo him.
I would boo
If
him.
I boo him, why? He's the reason why the Cowboys are what they are. You should cheer him, if anything.
That's fair, but I still think he deserves a boo just for being Jerry Jones. Just a boo. Just a boo. I'll take it. All right, moving along.
I have no hate towards Jerry Jones. To me, he is great because he has screwed the Cowboys up perpetually year after year after year. For that, he deserves to be cheered.
That's fair. They got to keep him there. Keep him as the GM. He loves being the general manager, but he deserves a boo. Like any Cowboy, you put on the star, that's boo-worthy in of itself. All right, moving along. Final nugget of the day. I took this from you, Mike Gill, yesterday, and your interview with Dotun Akatoye. Akatoye.
I practiced that for a while.
So it was a great interview. I mean, I thought the article was fantastically done. It was in-depth. It was fantastic. But the interview yesterday, I thought there was one answer that was fascinating, and it was talking about Sam Hinkie. And he dropped a nugget in there that he still, it could be taken a couple of different ways, by the way, that he still keeps in touch with Sam Hinkie. Joel does. Now,
I wonder how.
What is that conversation like?
I wonder how frequent it is that players keep in touch with the guy who drafted them.
The GMs, even GMs just in general, too.
Well, that's what the guy who drafted him would generally be the GM.
I know, but, is he texting Maury every day? This is a GM. This is 3 GMs ago. You know what I mean?
That's my point, though. Maury didn't draft Joel. Sam did. So I'm saying, how many people keep in touch with the guy who drafted them?
That's fair.
As hey, I'll always remember that you were the guy who drafted me. I don't know how unique of a situation it is that Joel has this connection with Sam for being, because remember, people forget, the night of the draft, there were a lot of people incorrectly speculating that Joel had this look on his face that he was upset that he got picked
because it was
by the
delayed.
Sixers because there was a delay. And here it turns out him and Sam have this great relationship to the fact that here we are 12 years later, or maybe 10 years. When did he get drafted, Joel? 2014, 15?
14.
So about 10 years later, and they still have a relationship. There was in the article that Embiid has something in his house named after Hinkie.
Yeah. I just find that fascinating. What if he was still in the league, though, as a GM of another team? Do you still keep in touch with that GM, or is that tampering? Do you get into that kind of fiasco?
Not if you're, not if you're signed, I would guess.
That's what I mean. I thought it was a little unusual that he said, yeah, he still kind of talks to Sam Hinkie a lot. That's fascinating to me that Joel still keeps in touch with him. He's been away for a while. Now, I know you keep in touch with people over the years, which is fair. But
one of the things that Dotun explained to us yesterday was in the course that he builds trust with people and then they leave his life.
Yeah.
And he has
that's
a
why he's
hard
distrusting.
time trusting people because every time he gets close to them, they are no longer in his life anymore. Right. And that was basically been since his childhood, the way that he was brought up. And I thought somebody brought up an interesting point yesterday. One of our listeners, said that his parents were immigrant parents, and that when things go, I wish I could. Let's see if I could pull up the text message real quick about the fact that when you are somebody that here it was. He says, both my parents are immigrants. And one thing that I learned growing up is that when you go through a traumatic, as an immigrant loss, the way Joel Embiid did, he lost his brother, you start to associate your home country with the, quote, good days. When you were with the people you miss, it's not necessarily trying hard not to assimilate. It's grief mixed with nostalgia. You're looking at the past with a strong perception of rose-colored glasses. So it's almost... he feels like he wishes things could go back to the, quote, normal he knew before losing his brother. Right. He doesn't view himself as lazy because of his accomplishments in addition to the emotional ride he's been on.
Yeah, and in Dotun Akatoye,
he went on to say, by the way, that this article helped humanize Joel big time.
And I think it's fair. Yeah, the thing with Sam, I think because Sam was the guy who drafted him, it was one of the first guys he met in the NBA, right? So there's a relationship there. I wonder just what those conversations are like. I wonder if they talk about the team,
Well, if you heard
Makes you wonder.
You heard what Keith Pompey told us yesterday on the air, which was Joel and Sam would be sitting courtside before games and talking for, just
pictures
talking.
of that. Yep.
Just sitting there talking before games for like an hour. So they must have some sort of, I would imagine they have some sort of philosophical connection.
Agreement. Yep. All right. They're the Nuggets for today, Mike. From Ventnor Social.
They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Casey, how many pictures you got in your phone today? I mean, she is snapping pictures of all the people coming in here.
Selfies.
Everybody wanting to get their picture taken. They stop in, they get the picture. Some people just walking off the street. Hey, you got the Lombardi trophy in there? We've had many people say, hey, I heard the radio, you got the Lombardi. Yep, it's right there. You can come in, sit at the bar, have a nice drink, and get yourself. Look, we got the square pizza.
Tomato pie.
Right there, a little tomato pie they brought us over from the Santucci's right next door. They got the pizzas here. We got plenty of drinks and food right here at Ventnor Social. Mike McGarry at 5:30. Friday live at Ventnor Social. Now the dinner crowd's starting to pop in now. Stop out. We got one more hour of the show left. The Lombardi Trophy will be here. You can get your picture taken, sir. You can step right up. This whole group just got their picture taken. If you want to get your picture. Now, me and my college roommate, my old buddy here, we got our picture taken. We got a little picture with the Lombardi. It's just like every week I see it, it's like I just got to get another picture taken. Everywhere I've gone.
There's just aura just coming from the trophy. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
609-403-0973. Last hour of the show, we're going to have McGarry on at 5:30 tonight, live from the ballpark. Think about the biggest Phillies story for you to start the second half right now. I do want to get into some Phillies to start this second half. By the way, Phils tonight, the lineup is out. If you haven't heard the lineup yet, it is a little bit of a different lineup there, Nugs. We got the Phillies lineup today. As always, the lineup is brought to you by Instant Services, the tri-state area's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to see how you can win 4 Phillies Hall of Fame Club tickets. All right, here's the lineup tonight. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Alec Bohm, Nick Castellanos, Brandon Marsh is hitting 6 tonight, JT Realmuto, Max Kepler, and Bryson Stott. That is the lineup tonight with Jesus Luzardo on the mound for the Phillies. So we talked about it in the first hour. I want to see what the 5 o'clock hour listeners think now. Number 1, do you like Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm? Do you have any change to those top 4 as the second half of the season gets ready to start? We asked that question because the Phillies did hit Schwarber leadoff in the last game before the All-Star break. Now, they said it was because of Bohm not being in the lineup. Now, there is some more news. Bohm is obviously back, so he is healthy, although it looked like he was down the shore this past weekend.
He was definitely down the shore this weekend. Aaron Kate Dolan and him looked like they had a good time during the All-Star break. Saw the posts on social media. So Bohm was down here. I think Kyle Schwarber was down the shore too.
Schwarber was over at one of my favorite spots. He was at the watering hole in Stone Harbor, but one of my favorite spots, the watering hole I think owns, is Rum Row right below it.
How about that?
So watering hole is the upstairs spot. The Rum Row is the one. I've actually never been to the watering hole upstairs. I've only been to the Rum Row downstairs. Now, I think he was at Mike's Seafood, too, this weekend. So he hit all the homers in the All-Star game, then went to Stone Harbor and Sea Island, had a couple drinks and got some seafood.
Yeah, hung out down the shore. Nothing better because, they're playing during the year. They don't get a chance to come down the shore like some of the Eagles do. I see Cooper DeJean. He's been spotted all over, a bunch of the birds. So the Phillies had a couple of days to get down here.
So that's my first question. The top 4 of the lineup, Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm. Would anybody make a tweak to that?
At this point, I don't mind it. I just prefer having Schwarber behind Harper, honestly. I'd rather have that. Maybe put Bohm, too. It's so tough with this lineup, the way it's constructed right now.
See, I'm the opposite. I like Schwarber hitting 2 with Harper hitting 3 right now. Because I think Schwarber right now...
You want to protect Schwarber.
I think Schwarber right now is the more impactful player. I just think he right now is the better hitter, more dangerous hitter. Like if you were a pitcher right now for a manager of another team or a pitcher for another team, would you be more inclined to pitch to Schwarber or Harper?
Harper, right now. You would.
Okay, so with that in mind, you still have the fear of Harper, but he's not producing like Schwarber. So I would be more inclined to say, Schwarber, I want you up with Harper behind you because I want you to be the guy that gets the protection, the best protection. The problem is if you hit Schwarber 3, he doesn't benefit from the best protector.
No.
Because Bohm is not the best protector.
No, he's not.
What Bohm is good at, okay? Bohm has his problems, okay? Bohm doesn't have enough power. He doesn't hit a lot of home runs. He generally is a upper echelon hitter with runners in scoring position. That's what he's been good at. He is not a big home run power guy, but he will drive in, 90 probably runs this year. He's driven in almost 100 runs the past 2 seasons. So Bohm but he's not putting the fear into the manager or the pitching coach of the other team.
That's why when we talked about the deadline, I mean, that's why Brent Rooker would fit seamlessly into this lineup.
I would agree.
Then you have that right-handed bat that you can trust. What Castellanos should be, with all his lack of power, I should say, Rooker has that power. So then you could have a singles guy like Castellanos towards the bottom, and that would just have the lineup develop so much better throughout the course of a game. It would be so beautiful. That's why I do the trade, Mike. That's why I do the trade.
Absolutely. Listen, if I could get Rooker, there would be very.
You're in this year.
There'd be very little that I would get. Almost. They're not getting Trout.
No Trout.
They're not
no
getting
Trout.
But he'll be on TV tonight. Where is Trout hitting in their lineup tonight? Did they put their lineup out yet? He usually hits 2 or 3 in their lineup. There is probably not many trades. He's in the 3 hole.
3 DH in tonight.
There are probably not many deals that you can offer and put in front of me that involve Rooker coming to the Phillies that I would say no to.
Yeah, I mean, because the Buxton thing's kind of out. The way he was, talking, he has no trade clause. So Buxton's out, but there's no other real, impact right-handed bat out there other than Rooker. The A's are 11.
I'm going to tell you this. Rooker is not even available, in my estimation. I have not heard one rumor that has him available.
I've seen a couple of.
And that doesn't mean just because a rumor is not out there that people can't say,
That's what I mean.
Is Rooker available? But I have not heard any indication. Here's why I don't think Rooker's available. Multiple reasons. One, the A's signed him to a very, very team-friendly deal. This was a deal with their move to Vegas in mind, okay? This was them saying, we're moving to Vegas. We have to have some players when we move there. He is the most – they did it with Lawrence Butler. They did it with him. So when they move to Vegas, these guys are going to be signed, and they are the core of that team. So they are on such team-friendly deals that you would have to absolutely blow the A's away for them to say, we went out of our way to sign this guy, which is something we generally don't do, and now we're going to give up on that team-friendly of a deal?
They could also, he's also 30 years old. That also has to be mixed into the equation here. So if they could get a ton of prospects back from the Philadelphia Phillies, Painter, a Miller, a Crawford, somebody, I think the A's would be open to it. Now, Miller, I think, is out there more so. His values come down to from where it was last year. So I think it's interesting. If Dave Dombrowski's going to swing big, that would be swinging big. And the A's are 11 out. I know they would want to go into their new stadium, which isn't going to be built for a couple more years anyway. Rooker could fall off the face of the earth and not be the same player anymore. You don't know. So
Rooker, does it bother you at all that Rooker's not having as good of a year this year as he had last year?
No. That doesn't bother. I think he's still having a good year. What is he batting around 270 something, right?
270? No, last year he hit 293, 365 on base percentage. He had a 562 slug, a 927 OPS. This year he's 279, 355 on base, 505 slug, 861 OPS. His numbers are down pretty much across the board, and he's 1 year older. So is that something you say, maybe a little bit of a decline coming?
I would take it because you're going for it this year. The reason you're getting him is for this year. I mean,
you'll
be able to control him, but the contract.
By the way, I am not saying I would do that. I have to be clear because some people don't know that sometimes I'm joking around. I would trade for Brett Rooker. I don't think his numbers dipping is a sign that I'm concerned. So I want to clarify that because some people,
he's still having a really good year.
He
was an all-star this year.
And by the way, though, the contract is so team-friendly.
Yeah.
$8 million next year, $14 million the following year, $15 million, $19 million, and $22 million in a vesting option. So you would have him controlled for the next 4 seasons. That's a deal that if you're the Phillies, man, now he would be getting older and older and older.
He'd fit right in with everybody else. I mean, he'd fit right in with everybody else. And you'd also remember, you're having Castellanos come off the books next year. You have Schwarber coming off the books. You have Real Muto coming off the books. So if you're going to lose 1 or 2 of those guys within the next 2 seasons, you need a bat there at some.
All right,
somewhere.
So he has played 5 games in left field this year.
It's fine. You're taking a hit defensively. if you get him. You're going to put him in left field, or you're going to put Schwarber in left field.
He has played 9 games in right field, so he has played a total of 14 games in the outfield.
He's been
this year.
mainly DH.
Yeah, so he is. Well, yes, he is mainly the DH for that team. But you would be saying, hey, Brent Rooker, you are going to go play left field, and you have not done a whole heck of a lot of
And
that.
here's why you'd prefer him over Mike Trout. Mike Trout makes $37 million
The Trout,
over the next
contract,
5 years.
The Trout
Each year.
contract is
Enormous.
you just can't sell me on
No.
it. Not now. Not now. It's a shame. As much as we all would love to see it, and I'm not saying that Trout doesn't have a couple good years
Good
left.
player,
in him.
yeah. He's still a good player. He's not where he was, but he's still a good player.
Yeah, Trout right now, and by the way, he's DHing tonight.
Yep.
Which it tells you again, they can't even really get him in the field right now because of the injury problems. They're trying to preserve him by DHing him. You have a DH here, so he doesn't even really it's hard to say that Mike Trout doesn't even fit here now. I mean, yes, you could put him back in the outfield, but one of the reasons is he's DHing for the Angels right now because he got hurt playing the outfield.
Yeah, the Mike Trout thing, it sucks, but I would prefer to get him. That would be awesome. It's Mike Trout. It's the story. He's from Millville. Awesome. However, the contract, the injuries, the age, it's just not doable.
This year, he has played right field in 22 games. He has DH'd in 46 games. So they have limited his outfield exposure, if you will.
This city has dealt with plenty of injuries, especially from the basketball team. They don't need another injury-prone, aging star. We've already done that. We've seen it with the other organizations in this town. You don't need another aging star on a bad contract. You just don't.
So Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm. I would go Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm with this group of guys. That's what I would stay with.
But Marsh at 6 is crazy.
Well, the
Over
next group of
JT?
guys, Castellanos, Marsh, Real Muto. Now, I tweeted this out at the All-Star break, okay? Second half of the year begins, getting ready to start as soon as the first half ended. The last lineup of the first half had Schwarber hitting leadoff, and then I posted what I would do with my lineup the rest of the way here. And I think you're at the point now, and I said this earlier, the only kind of changes, I'm at the point where I think I would just play Kemp every single day.
Otto Kemp in left. No Kepler. No Kepler at all. Doesn't matter.
I don't need to
no
see.
platoon.
Nope. I will finish my thought on this, okay? I do not need to see any more platoons. I think the platoon thing, they're not working.
They're not.
They're not working. So I'm done with the platoons. For the second half of the year, let the better part of the platoon play every day and maximize those guys. And who knows, they might actually just be better if they get the chance to play every single day. So I would, if I had the opportunity to put the lineup together with no platoons, this is pretty much the everyday lineup. Now, I'll explain here in a second. I'm trying to find the lineup that I put. There it is. This is what the Phillies lineup should be coming out of the All-Star break. Turner, Bohm, Harper, Schwarber, Kemp, Sosa, Castellanos, Real Muto, Marsh. Enough with the platoons. Rojas, Stott, and Kepler are not doing their part, so play the guys that give you an opportunity to win every day. Get them everyday reps.
I'm with you. I'm getting so sick and tired of the platoons. It's just not working. Sosa's interesting because you and I have talked about before.
Now, the Sosa one, I will say.
You got to play Stott.
I think
there has to be a little bit of a platoon
I
there.
think you would play Stott still. I said earlier in the show, and I will follow that back up, I would play Stott and Sosa about 50-50 and may the best man win.
So that's your only
At the end
platoon.
of the year, if Sosa is showing me that he can handle himself against some right-handed pitching, and at the end of the year, you're both getting 50% of the games. You're both going to play 3 games a week, okay? Because right now, Stott gets about 75% of the games.
And you're only playing Stott against righties. Would you
Stott
play Sosa against
the only
righties
time,
and lefties?
The only time Stott is in the lineup, now, I would say is when you're facing righties.
Right.
But not every righty. I'm saying, if you play 6 games in a week, they each get 3. if you play 7 games in a week and there happens to be 5 righties, well, Sosa's getting to play against 2 of those righties.
Okay. So you give Sosa the majority of the playing time.
No, they're getting 50-50.
50-50.
They're getting 50%
So you're platoon. So that you're staying in platoon there then. Second base is still platoon.
But it's a modified platoon. It's not just if there's a right-handed pitcher, Stott plays, and if there's a left-handed pitcher, Sosa plays. No. It is you're getting 3 games and you're getting 3
It's not
games.
matchup based, it's weekly based. It's based on each week.
And at the end
This
of the
is what
year,
we're doing.
at the end of the year, who had the best stretch of 60 games?
Okay.
And that guy, because if Sosa shows that he can handle himself against right-handed pitching,
They should play every day.
then he should get the opportunity in the playoffs to be the guy over Stott.
It
That's
stinks
the one.
because Bryson Stott, I mean, he's so good defensively at second base, but he just is not a consistent hitter. I don't know if it's the approach. I don't know what it is. And so his at-bats at times get so confusing for me as to what pitches he's laying off, what pitches he's actually swinging at. So, and he was a guy.
And as I've said, you
thought he'd be more consistent than he's been.
You did think he would be more consistent than he's been. Stott has been statistically one of the worst hitters in all of baseball. So anybody who's still champion for Stott, look, we all like Stott. I'm one of the people who said, hey, you got to give Stott, an opportunity. You got to let him play. He's a first-round pick. He has been horrible. Horrible. The other night, it was a microcosm of what Stott is. The announcer calling the game, I think it was Adam Wainwright, during the Fox game on Saturday.
Yeah.
He says his pitch is down and in fastball. The guy throws a down and in fastball, and Stott pops it up to left field. His bat is too slow that he couldn't catch up to a pitch that is the one that is his best pitch to hit.
He's 27 years old now. It's not like he's like this young player, rookie. We'll give him time. No, he's supposed to be in the prime of his career. He's batting .234 at this point. He has not been good enough. And when you look at the lineup, it's like there's a drop-off. After your first 4 hitters, it's like hopefully you can get something out of them tonight, whether it's Castellanos, whether it's Stott, whether it's whoever, JT. JT's been much better as of late. But it's those certain guys, Marsh. The Marshes and Stotts of the world have really struggled. Marsh has been better as of late, too. But you haven't gotten the consistent production out of those guys, and that's hurt this team, and it's hurt them in the playoffs.
And one thing I did say, though, one thing I will say is, and I tweeted this out, obviously I know they're not going to bench Stott. I totally get that. But you got to hit in the 9-hole. You got to hit him. I said, and here it is right here.
Yep.
If Stott is playing, the only spot in the batting lineup is 9th. And guess what? Where's he hitting tonight?
He's hitting 9th.
He's hitting 9th. So they listen to me sometimes.
That's good because he should be hitting 9th. He just has not earned a spot
It's
in the heart of the order.
You can hit him. He just right now is overmatched. He cannot. Now, what he has been good at, he'll see a lot of pitches. He fouls pitches off. Part of the reason why he fouls pitches off is because he can't catch up to them.
Yeah. And he sometimes his at-bats, like I say, they get confusing. He swings at stuff out of the zone sometimes, and he'll have like this one at-bat where he's just all over the place. So he'll work the count, but he'll let strikes go by, and then swing at a ball. So
Stott looks absolutely confused.
He looks,
and lost
exactly.
Up there.
He just looks
I
confused
told you,
up there.
I said the other day, he reminds me of how Romano was after the game the other night.
Yeah.
Romano, they talked to him after the game when he gave up the inside the park home run.
Yep.
And after
Just
that
deflating.
game, he looked like, I don't know what to say. I'm throwing 97 miles an hour and I can't get anybody out. It is that moment when you are that good when you have been an all-star level player.
Yep.
And you still have it, but you can't get people out. You're still throwing 97 miles an hour. You're like, I'm physically throwing 97, but I can't figure out why I can't get him. That's what Stott looks like when he's at the plate. He gets his pitch, and he pops it up, and he's like, that's a pitch that I used to crush, and I can't. Why? Why can't I do it anymore? You're starting to see him internally question himself at the plate.
Right, and he just looks lost at the dish. I mean, the at-bats are confusing. The approach is confusing from someone watching the game. So hit him 9th. Hopefully, hitting in the 9-hole takes the pressure off, and maybe he starts seeing more pitches, and maybe the All-Star break having that time off to just chill out, relax, because the glove's there. He's a Gold Glove caliber second baseman.
Yeah, but you know what?
He can't hit.
Sosa's fine defensively.
Sosa's good defensively
He's
too.
just as good defense. You don't lose. You lose possibly a fraction.
But the problem
defensively.
with Stott is and this goes back to the expectations, right, that we've talked about across sports. He was a first-round pick. There was a lot. He was a top
Well, let me ask you this
prospect.
question.
So that plays
if
a role.
Bryson Stott wasn't a first-round pick, would he be getting as long of a leash as he has?
No, he'd be kind of treated like the Otto Kemp type of player, I feel like.
Right, because he was a first-round pick, he is getting a longer leash.
Exactly. And that has everything to do with it. And he's 27, so they're hoping, because they've seen it before, him start getting base hits. I mean, you were at the game against the Marlins where he hit the grand slam. Like, he's had moments and stretches where he's been hitting consistently. It just hasn't been there.
Versus righties, he is hitting .236 with a .303 on-base percentage, a .356
He's not even
slug.
walking.
Against lefties, he has a .226 batting average with a .304 on-base percentage and a .242 slugging percentage. I mean, those numbers are dreadful.
That's an atrocity. It's an atrocity.
I will say his numbers against lefties, .236 with a .303 on-base percentage, which are not very good.
No.
I think they are. I think Sosa's numbers against righties are similar.
Yeah.
Sosa has not performed well against right-handed pitching either. Now, small sample size, but against righties, Sosa is hitting .217 with a .239 on-base percentage and a .319 slug. So to suggest that Sosa should play against righties is almost preposterous as well. Those numbers are pretty bad.
It's just the thing with Sosa. He gives you so much energy off the bench, and you want that guy coming off the bench. If the starter could just do his job, it would be a perfect world.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube at 973 ESPN, at Mike Gill Show. We are live at Ventnor Social, hanging out until the top of the hour. If you want to get your picture taken, you got a little bit of time to do that. We're here till 6 o'clock tonight. You can come on out and get your picture taken with the Eagles championship trophy for about another 40 minutes or so. 40 minutes, the trophy will be here. If you're coming out looking for a place for dinner tonight, maybe you're on the mainland and you're saying, you know what, I've never been to this Ventnor Social. I've never got on the island and saw it yet. Perfect time to get down here. Coming up on the other side, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, is at Citizens Bank Park. Brandon Marsh is in the 6-hole. What big stories is he looking at for the second half? And Mike Trout spoke today about the trade rumors that he always hears about coming to Philadelphia. Plus, Mike McGarry got a chance to catch up with the former Cape Atlantic League star. We'll have all that and more coming up next on the Sports Bash live from Ventnor Social on 97.3 ESPN.
What? About I mean, this is how I set it up every week. I mean, they're showing something's coming through there. How about that? Yeah, you changed three options. Over four. Good. What's the rating? What's the rating? Eight, 10. What kind of rating is that? 8, 10. That's a 9. Oh. Yes. I thought you were doing a decimal. No, I thought you were saying like 8.10. Baby, all I
How do you feel? Got 30 minutes. How do you feel?
Ready to go. I feel like I could use a beer.
That man would have bought you one had you said yes. I don't know who he was, but he was willing.
The guy with the pineapple Phillies jersey.
He was in for today.
All right, 5:30, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. We've got so much happening at Ventnor Social tonight. You can stop down and see us. We got a whole bunch of people that have come down to check out the Lombardi Trophy. So stop down. You got about a half hour left to do so in the show. You can walk in off the street, stop in, get your picture taken, go out and have a little dinner right here at Ventnor Social. We got the pizza from next door, too. Santucci's delivered us the pizza. We got food from the menu here at Ventnor Social. Bar is open and more. Mike McGarry is at Citizens Bank Park, and he is with the Phillies tonight as they get ready to take on the Angels and start the second half of the baseball season. And he joins us now on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, what's going on, man? Yeah, and obviously, you've covered him in high school, and then he's turned into one of the great players in the game. He had a Hall of Fame start to his season and likely is a Hall of Famer. The last couple of years have been tough for him. As you get the chance to talk to someone you saw all the way back then to now, do you feel that the joy is still there when you talk to him like you did early in his career with all the injuries he has gone through? Yeah, Mike, there's so many people, and, he actually was asked about the trade rumors who would love to see Mike play in Philadelphia. He did joke about it today, but are we past that, or is that something that you think, the Phillies need a right-handed bat? He's kind of DHing at this point right now, but are those rumors and everything behind, or is there a Slim's thing that the Phillies would say, you know what, we're that desperate? I hate to say desperate, but he makes so much money. He's been so unreliable recently. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having him, even a advanced aged Mike Trout with the injuries would be a better option in the four-hole than anybody Philadelphia is putting in there right now. Let's look at their lineup tonight, Mike, because they are back to their normal four. But they did make a switch with Brandon Marsh moving all the way, generally from the 9-hole, all the way up to the 6th spot, and it is Bryson Stott going all the way. He has been in the 6th spot. He is going into the 9-hole. What's the messaging to start the second half of the season there? What do you make of Bryce's stat? I mean, we're looking at his splits. We were talking about it before you came on. He is hitting 236 against righties, 226 against lefties, 303 on base against righties and lefties, a 242 slugging percentage against lefties. It's 356, not great against righties. I mean, we're at the point where he's now batting in the 9-hole, but are you starting to question whether Sosa should be cutting into that time, a little bit more equally? There's no question about that. I will say you're right about Sosa. Looking at him as a starter versus right-handed pitching, he is hitting 218 with a 280. He is hitting 192 with a 218 on base percentage. So Sosa against right-handed batters when he starts the game, which has not happened all that often. It has only happened 10 times. But his numbers against right-handed pitching are not very good. So it feels like the Phillies obviously are going to be in a platoon situation because Sosa's numbers against righties are not all that good. Mike, how much do we see the platoons at the other positions, left field and in center field? Is that what we're looking at for most of the second half of this season? Anything to start the second half that maybe Rob Thompson brought up today that intrigued you, or is everything basically, hey, we are first place, we've won a bunch of games, why change? Although they did make a change to the batting lineup, obviously, but anything else that stood out to you as they get ready to start the second half? Yeah, and Mike McGarry's at Citizens Bank Park joining us here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Jesus Luzardo will pitch tonight. Obviously, he had a great breakout to the start of the season. A little uneven. More on the positive side, though, the second half of the season. I guess we'll be kind of watching to see what he brings to the table tonight because, Mike, his name has been brought up as a possible guy for the bullpen, where before you were looking at a guy that might have been number 2 behind Zach Wheeler. So what are you anticipating the second half from Luzardo? More of a guy that will profile as a bullpen guy? Yeah, I would agree with that. No, Andrew Painter, he has struggled a little bit there. When you talk about Painter, Miller, Crawford, and obviously Abel, they're the four names. How many of those guys do you expect to be here after July 31st? Yeah. Yeah, because we keep hearing stuff, and I want to get your opinion on this, Mike. We've heard over the years, Dombrowski's never afraid to make the big move. He's always kind of traded prospects. We had not seen that here, really. I mean, he did trade Logan O'Hoppe for Brandon Marsh. I mean, that was something they did a couple of years ago. I think O'Hoppe was quite on the level of the four guys we're talking about now. But are those days behind Dombrowski where he's not the same GM in terms of making those moves that he earned a reputation for? Because quite frankly, we haven't seen it here. All right, Mike. By the way, Rob Thompson updated on Aaron Nola. He will throw 2 innings of live batting practice tomorrow. If that goes well, a bullpen session on Tuesday. And if that goes well, he could be back on a rehab assignment, and we could see Aaron Nola sometime here in the short future. He is Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Everybody live from Citizens Bank Park. Phillies and the Angels all weekend long. Mike will be back on Monday to recap it with us here for the Sports Bash. Thanks, man. As always, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Good to have him live from Citizens Bank Park tonight. You got the update there. You got a chance to catch up with Mike Trout, who will, of course, hitting third and DHing tonight for the Angels. All right, we got the Bet365 play of the day coming up. We got finishing thoughts here. Ventnor Social is where we are. People have been coming in throughout the day, but we're running out of time. You have 15 minutes. Stop in real quick, get your picture snapped with that Lombardi trophy, do something cool with it, maybe blow it up and put it on the wall.
I think that goes right in the office, right in the man cave, too. Perfect.
Casey gave the pizza, she gave it an 8.
It's pretty good. That's
Strong.
a solid score.
8.
Right there.
Now, she said 8.10, and I thought we both thought she meant 8.10. And I
did.
Said, well, that's a 9 then.
Yeah, that equals 9. It's a whole number. She's yelling at us now.
She said it's an 8 out of 10. All right. That's different. You said 8.10, not 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yeah.
8 out of 10.
Hey, the details matter. You know?
That decimal point, it's a big decimal point.
I'm being very serious today. You know, everything I say is very serious today. No joking on this show.
It can and will be held against you.
No joking on this show.
Can and will be held against you, Mike.
All right, getting ready to wrap up a happy hour Friday. We've got to look at the menu. Can you grab me the drink menu? She could do that. All right. Sports
awesome.
Bash. We'll do the happy hour Friday picks. Coming up next. Oh, I got it. By the way, I do have a happy hour Friday pick for the people out there. I do have a happy hour Friday pick. I forgot that I loaded it into my phone for today. That's a newbie that might be up there with one of my best of all time. Stick around for that next on the Sports Bash. All right, getting ready to get out of here. Ventnor Social, want to thank them. Santucci's for the pizza. By the way, my parking meter expired again. And
You got to get out of
2
here.
hours at a time. So I got to go refill or get out of here.
You're getting out of here fast.
Mike,
my
I
Bet3
commend you on your commitment to not getting the Park mobile app.
I don't need the app.
Too much storage there,
I don't
Josh.
park over here enough to have another app on my phone. Bet365 play of the day. What was my play yesterday? Was yesterday the day I didn't give one because there was no games?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
You are 201.
My audio is really low. Something changed. I couldn't hear McGarry all that well either. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say you are
There we
at
go.
201, 134, and 1.
Now, who's on the board back there? Is that Nate or Alex?
That would be Alex.
Alex is on the board. Okay. Well, Alex, hello.
What's going on, Mike?
They've been switching all around back
Well,
there.
I know
man.
we're
Nate Dogg
we got
and
some guys
Alex.
training on the board so
Yeah.
that Josh doesn't have to work anymore.
Yeah, there we go.
You know, we're trying to give Josh a couple days off here and there.
Exactly.
We got Alex back there. Nate's trying to learn. Well, Casey, I've never worked with either. I just met her for the first time today.
I worked with Casey twice. She does great.
She says
Casey's been killing it today.
this first time I've ever met you. I don't remember that.
Wow.
If you think that's
Wow,
good,
that's
see,
a dig.
Hey, Mike. If
Well,
you
I
think,
know you, Nick.
Yeah, you do know me. Fortunately.
All right. Tigers and Mets tonight. That's my Bet365 play of the day. Put them together. You get plus 216 odds, and you'll make $10. We'll pay you $31. That is my Bet365 play. Sean Benai is back for the Metropolitans tonight.
Big for the
so
Mets.
There you go. That's my Bet365 play of the day. I think that's it for us, right?
That's it. And you got to go get your parking meter.
Happy Hour Friday. Here you go. I went to the Seed on Saturday. East of the Sun. Outstanding. IPA rye. Bang. East of the Sun. The Seed. Atlantic City. That's 2 straight weeks, though, the Seed beers. Little Place, they're out of it. I went there to go get the Little Place.
Right.
They didn't have any left. So the guy said, try this one. It's called East of the Sun. And I said, this might even. I like the Little Place a little bit better.
But it's right there on par.
Oh, this East of the Sun. If you like a rye IPA, very dry, bang, I like it. East of the Sun. By the way, here at Ventnor Social, they got all sorts of stuff. Specialty cocktails, draft beers, bottles, cans, wines, shareables, handheld salads, entrees. I'm done. That's it for me. Have a great Friday. See you, everybody.